Chapter 617. The guards glanced at each other. This little girl actually dared to ignore them. The two of them frowned. A huge amount of profound energy, like a mountain, pressed down on the two of them. The passers-by at the side were suffocated by this pressure. One by one, they hid in a restaurant and closed the door. Who is this young man? He actually dares to offend the She family? What? That person is from the She family. That's right, it's said that the She family's young master has already caught the eye of the Immortal Union. He might as well officially go up the mountain. This Immortal Union isn't anything good. They didn't even make a move when our Northern Region Empire was breached. You don't understand. The Immortal Union will not interfere in the matters between us mortals. Ji said indifferently, you're just 2 5th-level spirit profound realm martial artists, yet you dare to be rash. When he said this, everyone laughed out loud. Ha ha ha, an ignorant child actually dares to speak such arrogant word. Brothers, beat him up for me. The 2 spirit profound realm martial artists didn't care about Ji's strength at all, and each used a profound skill. Profound skill, 10,000 sword draw suddenly, the long swords in the air fell down like raindrops. Ji merely raised her hand, and a layer of chi aura appeared on her body. The long swords collided with the chi aura. They never expected that Ji would be a spirit profound realm martial artist at such a young age. Brat, you're quite capable. You have such strength at such a young age. Today, you won't be able to leave. The 2 spirit profound realm martial artists shouted. Holding artifacts in their hands, they directly charged towards Ji's chi aura suddenly turned into a long sword. A huge warhound sword, and a sword made of chi aura. The 2 swords pierced towards the 2 people at the same time. The 2 spirit profound realm martial artists widened their eyes. They looked at the long swords in their hands, and at the same time, they extended their swords. Just at this moment, a sword fell. It pierced through their bodies. Profound force erupted in an instant, and their 5 palaces and internal organs exploded one after another. Their bodies went soft, and they fell into a pool of blood. Ji said indifferently, it's your turn. Brat, don't be so arrogant. Following this sentence, 2 people, one black and one white, descended from the sky. The people in the restaurant cried out in alarm. Aren't they the black-white double demons? Why are they here? There's something you don't know. They were hired by the head of the She family, Shahai, with a lot of money. After they finished speaking, their eyes were filled with astonishment. Although the 2 of them were only existences at the peak of the spirit profound realm, it was said that when their profound skills fused together, they would have the strength of 1,000 soldiers and become peerless experts. Profound skill, black wind slash. Profound skill, white flame blazing sun. Countless black astral whirlwinds rushed towards Ji like giant blades. Ji smiled faintly. Do you want to play? Profound skill. Fierce wind blade. Ding, the host used fierce wind blade. Obtained 1 by 999 experience points. In front of Ji, a whirlwind also appeared. The 2 whirlwinds intertwined and were equally matched. As for the white fiend's white flame blazing sun, it was colorless and 5 forms. It directly arrived in front of Ji. A ball of flames appeared in Ji's mouth. Profound skill, city burning sea of flames. Ding, the host used city burning sea of flames. Obtained 1 by 999 experience points. The flames swallowed the opponent's white flame blazing Sunday originally. This move of the white fiend could only be used in the dark of the night because it was colorless and formless. It also had a temperature that could dissolve everything. However, it encountered Ji's flames. This time, everything would be swallowed up by Ji's flames. Ji said indifferently, the 2 of you have pretty good skills. Don't tell me you want to lose your lives for this brat. Her words could not be said to be rude. Hearing this, the black-white double demons also stopped their profound skill and looked at each other. At this moment, whether they left or stayed, everything would depend on the result. The She family's young master was not so kind. What are you guys waiting for? Go. The black-white double demons cupped their hands and said, reporting to young master, us 2 brothers are not this young master's match. I'm afraid we can't make a move. What? Hearing this, he was furious and said to the two in front of him, "What do I need you for?" Ji coldly snorted, "Snatching a woman on the street, killing you is also eliminating evil for the people." "Wait." Suddenly, he shouted loudly. "You can't kill me." He shouted heavily. "I am a member of the Shi family, do you dare to kill me? Even if you don't give face to the Shi family, what about the union of 10,000 immortals? Don't tell me you dare to offend the union of 10,000 immortals." The voice of an old man came out from the restaurant. "That's right, this union of 10,000 immortals is formed by 11 provinces other than the Nether Yin province. Any Xian master organization is under their control." "Is that so?" He gave a faint smile. The Shi family's young master gave a faint smile. "Let me tell you, although the people of the Union of 10,000 Immortals have not been able to come in for several hundred years, if you kill me here, you won't be able to escape." Ji did not say anything and just waved her hand. On the warhound's giant sword, a profound light flashed and blood flowed out from his neck. He knelt on the ground and spat out blood. You. The Shi family's guards finally arrived. They pointed at Ji in horror and a trembling voice came from their throats. You killed young master." They shouted one after another. A lotus flower exploded in the air. The guards of the Shi family quickly arrived with their swords in hand. When they saw the young master of the Shi family lying in a pool of blood, they couldn't help but reveal a look of disbelief. They pointed at Ji with a trembling finger. You. Don't think about leaving." After the Shi family's first elder received this news, he was also terrified. Their Shi family wanted to rely on this young master to become the #1 Xian master family in Tianjing City. Now, all of their dreams were destroyed by a child who was not even 18 years old in front of them. "Brat, who are you? You dare to attack our Shi family?" Ji said indifferently, "I am Ji." After saying this, Xiao Ji pulled on Ji's sleeve. "Big brother, I feel so bored. Let's go." Ji withdrew his giant sword and looked at Xiao Ji, his eyes filled with gentleness. "All right, we'll leave now." The Shi family's first elder snorted. "Want to leave?" The Shi family's guards drew their swords one after another. However, at this moment, a strong voice sounded. Ha, I didn't expect to see so many people here today." At the end of the street, a carriage slowly drove in. 50 to 60 red-clothed guards stood beside the carriage. Chapter 6:18. The guards in red took out their precious weapons. Every single one of them was emitting a mysterious light. After experiencing 3 layers of color changes, Yi Zichen's eyes lit up. Only then did they stabilize. What? An expert at the 7th level of the Spirit Profound Realm. Not only the common people on the side. Even the group of people from the Shi family became vigilant. They took a step back. Their hands, which were holding the treasures, began to tremble. After exchanging glances with each other, they all nodded. The elder of the Shi family said, "The Tang family? Do you really want to go against the Shi family?" The man who was waving the fan closed it and stood up. "Yes, I, Tang Mingyuan, will fight with the Shi family to the end. What do you think?" Elder Shi gritted his teeth. "Today, I will protect this young master." "Okay, I hope young Master Tang won't forget what you said today." After shouting to leave, they slowly retreated. Only then did they slowly leave. Tang Mingyuan walked up to Ji, cupped his hands and said, "Young master, may I have the honor to treat you two to a drink?" Ji smiled faintly. "It's my honor to be friends with young Master Tang." "I, Ji, pay my respect to young Master Tang." Tang Mingyuan laughed, rolled up his sleeves, and followed Ji to a restaurant. Countless young girls were swaying their bodies. Tang Mingyuan took out a spirit stone and threw it into the girl's hand. Ji also entered the room. Countless people came forward and said to Ji, "Young master, choose me. I will definitely make you happy." Xiao Ji stared at Ji in front of her. Ji waved her hand, and the 2 people beside her bowed and left. Tang Mingyuan also knew what Ji was worried about. He just laughed, hugged the 2 girls beside him, and walked into the room. Ji followed behind him and sat on the chair. He smiled faintly and said, "Young Master Ji, Where did you come from? Our Tianjing city doesn't have anything grand these days. Ji Yu smiled faintly. I'm here to look for the land of extreme frost. Tang Mingyuan put down the wineglass and asked curiously, I've lived for more than 50 years, and I don't know a place that sounds so cold. It seemed like there wouldn't be any results in Tianjing city. Since there are no clues, then forget it. Let's drink. Ji Yu raised the wine glass in her hand. Tang Mingyuan laughed and said, Brother Ji is right. Cheers. The two of them downed a cup of wine. And downstairs, the guards of the Shi clan walked in and took out their precious weapons. They placed their swords on everyone's necks. Just as the remaining people were about to stand up, an elder walked in. He raised his finger and made a shushing motion. Isn't this Elder Shi Li? This is the strongest person in terms of body profound skill. Everyone who was drinking the wine sucked in a deep breath. Ji Yu drank another cup of wine and said faintly, It seems that we have guests. Tang Mingyuan burped and looked in Ji Yu's direction. At that moment, Ji Yu stomped her foot on the table, causing it to fly away. The table flew directly in the direction of the door. Just at this moment, the door broke open. It broke into pieces one after another. Elder Shi Li led two groups of Shi clan guards into the room. However, the table happened to hit him. Elder Shi Li still hadn't used his mystic energy to fool himself. The table suddenly broke into pieces. Elder Shi Li's nose was full of blood. He shouted angrily, You brat. He said, But so what? You two didn't bring any guards today. Even if I kill you here today, so what? Tang Mingyuan put down the cup in his hand and laughed out loud. Haha, you? You want to kill me? After he finished laughing, he took a step forward and flew in front of Elder Shi. Elder Shi raised his hand and a chi aura appeared on his body. A heavy blow collided with each other. He took a step forward and said faintly, I didn't expect Elder Shi to have reached the beginning stages of the 9th level of the Spirit Profound Realm. Brat, you know now, you're going to die here today. After shouting this, he took a step forward and said to Ji Yu, I can't kill you, but can't I kill your friends? They took out their weapons and charged in Ji Yu's direction. Ji Yu leaped up and delivered a heavy kick. Suddenly, he was struck by the kick, causing the other party to spit out a mouthful of blood. He was sent flying and slammed into the wall. After falling, he spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, the wall collapsed. Ji Yu said faintly, 9th level of the Spirit Profound Realm? Tang Mingyuan stared at Ji Yu. Oh, damn, what the F***ck. Brother Ji, you can actually send someone at the beginning stages of the 9th level of the Spirit Profound Realm flying with a kick. Could it be that you're... Ji Yu smiled faintly and nodded slightly at him. Could it be that you're the legendary middle stages of the 9th level of the Spirit Profound Realm? Ji Yu wiped the sweat on her forehead and smiled without saying anything. Tang Mingyuan walked forward and patted Ji Yu beside him. He said, Let's go. After shouting this, the two of them walked forward and stood beside Ji Yu. Ji Yu said faintly, Do the two of you want to come over too? After hearing these words, the two people beside him gradually retreated. They quickly ran over and pulled up Elder Shi Li who had fallen to the ground. Brat, you actually dare to humiliate me, even if you're at the peak of the 9th level of the Spirit Profound Realm, so what? Mystic skill, 10,000 force attraction. After shouting this, Ji Yu felt as if something was pulling her body towards him. Ji Yu threw a punch. Ding, the host threw a punch. Obtained 1 by 999 experience points. After the punch landed, Elder Shi Li's eyes widened, reverse gravity. After shouting this sentence, Ji Yu was immediately pushed to the other side by the force of gravity. Ji Yu smiled faintly, mystic skill, 3000 movement. After shouting this, Ji Yu's figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Elder Shi Li, looking straight into Elder Shi Li's eyes. A trace of fear could be seen in his eyes. Ji Yu's heavy punch landed and directly broke the chi barrier on his body. Elder Shi spat out another mouthful of blood. He knelt on the ground and continuously gasped for breath. When the guards saw Ji Yu, they stepped forward and carried Elder Shi in their arms, running in another direction. Chapter 619. Tang Mingyuan watched as he ran out. He also knew that an awesome person like Ji Yu was by his side. He shouted loudly, "Shameless boy, don't run." How could they care about what he was saying? A few guards ran out of the room. Ji Yu said lightly, "Forget it, brother Tang. Let this kind of person run away." Another thing. After the elder of the Shi family ran back, he cried and shouted to the patriarch. "Patriarch, I was wronged. I just wanted to avenge young master. What did I do wrong?" An old man was beaten up by a young man who looked less than 18 years old, and he couldn't fight back at all. Now he was crying so hard that he pissed his pants. He couldn't help but frown. "Don't cry. It's so embarrassing." He snorted and said lightly, "What's his realm?" Elder Shali said awkwardly, "Well, patriarch, I don't know." Seeing that the other party was so scared, he frowned and felt that it was ridiculous. He was beaten up and didn't know what his realm was. Was this a joke? He slapped Shali in the face and said, "Are you kidding?" Shali hugged the patriarch's leg and said, "Patriarch, are we just going to let it go? Now he has the Tang family's protection. I don't have much choice. Alas. Patriarch, I have a plan to uproot the whole Tang family and that boy." "Oh, let's hear it." They lowered their heads and began to discuss. Good plan, good plan. The fact that Ji Yu defeated Shali had a great impact on the entire Tianjing city. Many people who came here because of the fame hid outside the Tang family's gate. They wanted to see how powerful this guy was and how he could do such an amazing thing. Tang Mingyuan walked into the Tang family's mansion with Ji Yu. Tang Mingyuan didn't seem to have a high status in the Tang family. A young man of about 70 or 80 years old walked over. In the vast world of Xian cultivators, people in their 70s or 80s were just young people. He said with some disdain, "Isn't this Tang Mingyuan? Brat, you dare to come back after causing such a big trouble? Tang Fei, don't be so arrogant. I'm not like you, a coward. Every time that son of a dog from the Shi family tries to steal your woman, don't you feel bad?" All the youths in the Tang family gathered around. "There's a good show to watch. It's Tang Mingyuan." "Tang Mingyuan? Interesting, but who is the person beside him?" Ji Yu asked, "Do you need my help?" Tang Mingyuan opened his fan. "Brother Ji, if you still think of me as a friend." Ji Yu seemed to know what he was going to say next. "Then, if I'm about to be beaten to death, remember to save me." Ji Yu had never seen such an unconventional person. Tang Mingyuan snorted coldly and threw a heavy punch forward. "Ah, what's the use of Shen Qi without Shen skills? Do you think we are all trash in the body refining stage?" Seeing that the fist was getting closer and closer, Tang Fei clenched his fist and threw it away. The other party slid to the ground. Tang Mingyuan stood up from the ground and patted his body. "I'm so unlucky. I can't even survive one move." He spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing that he made Tang Mingyuan bleed, Tang Fei just snorted and smiled proudly. However, when the blood fell into his palm, a fang-like precious weapon appeared in Tang Mingyuan's hand. "Go to hell." Tang Fei saw a small needle flying over. He snorted, "Brat, you want to sneak attack me? Aren't you too arrogant?" Ji Yu saw clearly that it was not a hidden weapon at all. All of a sudden, azure profound light flashed from the flying needle, and it abruptly transformed into a long sword. The long sword became even bigger than the war-hound sword in Ji Yu's hand. Tang Fei mobilized the Shen Qi in his dantian and transferred it to his palm. He waved his hands and slapped the huge sword. Even with his Shen Qi, he couldn't help but take 2 steps back. The surrounding stones flew out even more. Damn, Tang Mingyuan still has the strength to resist. Isn't this Tang family's top 10 a little too weak? Even Tang Mingyuan can give him a lesson. Tang Fei is just the 10th of the Tang family. What's so special about him? That's right. The words of others stopped in Tang Fei's ears. It was like 10,000 sharp blades stabbing into his heart. He gritted his teeth ferociously. Suddenly, his teeth became extremely sharp. "How dare you, brat? You insult me too much." Suddenly, 2 of his teeth grew long, and a long tail grew out of his butt. A purple fierce leopard transformed into a Shen beast aura shield and covered his back. "How dare you?" he roared. "How dare you? Damn you!" The leopard let out an angry roar at Tang Mingyuan. "I didn't expect someone to be able to cultivate the Shen beast skill to this level. He has already reached the realm of man-beast unity, right?" Tang Fei grabbed at Tang Mingyuan's direction. Tang Mingyuan's hands formed sword fingers and waved heavily. "Sword, come." The huge sword that was originally inserted under the stone pillar shook violently and flew back in his direction. Tang Fei suddenly turned his head. Insignificant skill. A purple light came out of his mouth and collided with the long sword. Shen skill, purple devil holy light. A shockwave hit the huge sword. The huge sword only made a light sound and flew to the side. The two Tang family disciples quickly dodged. The long sword was inserted into the stone pillar. That was close. This huge sword is powerful. I didn't expect Tang Fei's move to be even more powerful. The two of them sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. Tang Mingyuan had been forced to a dead end. He mainly cultivated Shen strength as a sword cultivator. Without a sword, he had nothing. He had no choice but to release his Shen Qi. However, under Tang Fei's claw, his Shen Qi was broken. He screamed and fell heavily to the ground. "It's over. This time." He curled up his body. He didn't have time to react. Tang Fei's speed was too fast. He could only reach out and block in front of him. In Tang Mingyuan's eyes, the whole world seemed to have darkened. This time, he was really going to die. There were definitely many people who had the same idea as him. Everyone said to themselves, "It seems that today, even the youngest son of the Tang family head is going to die here." However, the Tang family head had 30 children. It was too easy for one or half of them to die. It's good that Tang Mingyuan died. Chapter 620. It's just a competition. Why do you have to kill me? Ji Yu's words floated out of his mouth. Ding, the host used the 3000 cloud movement and gained 1 by 999 experience points. His figure was already in front of Tang Fei. Tang Fei thought, this guy is so fast. But so what? This guy dared to kill the young master of the Shi family in public. If this matter was known by the people of the Union of 10,000 Immortals, they would not have a good ending. Seeing that the claws were getting closer and closer, he made up his mind that it would be better to kill this person on the spot. This way, he could curry favor with the Shi family. Even if the family head pursued the matter of him killing Tang Mingyuan, he could still have a way out. You've been thinking for too long, haven't you? Tang Fei had only flown in the air for a few seconds, but Ji Yu dared to look down on him. Ji Yu suddenly grabbed his wrist, turned slightly, and threw him out. His attack had the strength of 10,000 kilograms. How could it be so easily broken? Tang Fei looked at Ji Yu deeply. He could not see how strong Ji Yu was. Ji Yu had not even used his Shen energy until now. How is this possible? Ji Yu did not intend to kill him. He merely tossed him away. So Tang Fei stepped on the stone pillar and landed on the ground. There were a total of 18 stone pillars in this square, and now there were only 17 left. He still had to rely on these stone pillars to be able to use his body movement. Tang Fei quickly mobilized his Shen energy. Brother Ji. No, you saved my life. From now on, you are my boss. Boss is above, please accept. Oh my, boss is here. Tang Mingyuan was also self-aware. He immediately stood up from the ground, took his shoes and ran to the side. Ji Yu said lightly, I really don't know what to do with you. Shen skill, purple demon holy light. A purple beam of light cut through the air and flew straight toward Ji Yu. Ji Yu kicked forward. With this kick, the flame in front of him was suddenly extinguished. The beam of light collided with a nearby rock. Accompanied by a loud bang, the stone exploded. Tang Fei thought to himself, could it be that long-range attacks have no effect on Ji Yu? If that was the case, he would have no choice but to use melee attacks. The purple light in his legs shone brightly, and his sharp claws pierced through his shoes. His 4 limbs had completely fused with the beast soul, and he began to fly, jumping continuously with the help of the surrounding stone pillars. Damn, Isn't Tang Fei's move too powerful? To be able to force Tang Fei to this extent, this person is very strong. I wonder which sect's young master he is from, to have such strength. However, no matter how Tang Fei flew back and forth on the stone pillar, Ji Yu did not raise her head to look at him. He suddenly felt a raging fire in his heart. Preposterous! How dare you ignore me like this? You should pay the price. After shouting these words, he descended from the sky and directly stretched out his sharp claws, clawing at Ji Yu's direction. Ji Yu did not move, but the warhound's greatsword in her hand was released in an instant. Another trashy greatsword, but in front of my speed, your greatsword cannot withstand a single blow. After shouting these words, his figure flashed, and his claws became incomparably sharp. It was as if as long as he clawed again, everything in the world would be turned into powder under his claws. The moment the leopard claw landed on Ji Yu's warhound's greatsword, he seemed to see a wolf's head roaring at him on the greatsword. Ding, host used Raging Inferno, obtained 1 by 999 experience points. Countless balls of fire also flew out of the giant dog's mouth. The sharp claws were instantly melted by the flames. He fell to the ground, and the leopard claw in his hand turned into powder. Tang Fei looked at the sharp claws in his hand in shock, and could not help but shed 2 drops of tears. That was the beast martial spirit that he had gone through many difficulties and obstacles to obtain, but it was actually so easily broken by someone. He did not know how many years it would take for him to cultivate that sharp claws. Although a profound cultivator, in the spirit profound realm, could live up to 500 years. But now, he had already lost 1/5 of his life. He would forever be stuck in the spirit profound realm. Tang Fei forcibly choked out a ball of anger. His feet moved, and his hands were filled with profound strength. Go and die. His fist contained all the profound strength in his body, and it was also his last attack. After this attack, he would have no more profound strength in his body. Ji Yu's Raging Inferno just now had only used 20% of her strength. Otherwise, it would not have been difficult to directly take his life. But this time, Ji Yu did not stop. She only poured her profound strength into her fist. Similarly, she only used the profound strength of the spirit profound realm. Their fists heavily collided. Rumble. A loud sound rang out, and the stone tiles under their feet instantly exploded. What a powerful collision. This move, both of them used their own profound strength. Right, they did not use any profound skills at all. This is the most exciting battle between profound cultivators. The Tang family's disciples watched with relish. Everyone became nervous for the two of them. But Tang Fei's fist made a cracking sound, as if it was about to shatter. Tang Fei's body went soft, and he half knelt on the ground. His left hand was already crippled. Ji Yu indifferently said, "It's over, you lost." Tang Fei unwillingly closed his eyes. "That's right, I lost." Ji Yu threw a pill bottle to him. "I will not look down on you because your cultivation is lower than mine. Everyone has their own cultivation, so in the future, you have to treat others equally." After saying this, the person beside her stood up and said indifferently, "This young master, how should I address you?" Ji Yu reported her name. Tang Mingyuan said, "Senior brother, I will take my friend to see master first." But when he was leaving, Tang Mingyuan suddenly turned his head, pointed at his nose and said, "One day, I will personally defeat you." Tang Fei guiltily lowered his head. Ji Yu followed Tang Mingyuan into the side hall. An old man about 200 years old walked out. Although he was already 200 years old, he still looked like a middle-aged man. He saw Tang Mingyuan and frowned. "Who are you? How dare you enter our Tang family's main hall?" Tang Mingyuan helplessly smiled bitterly. He had not seen this old man for a few years, but this old man actually did not recognize him. Chapter 621. Tang Mingyuan directly knelt on the ground. "Your son, Tang Mingyuan, greets father." The old man suddenly realized. "Oh, it's Yuan Er. Get up. I didn't expect you to grow so big in just a few years of seclusion." He walked to Ji Yu and stroked his beard. He said to Ji Yu, "Which one of my children are you?" Ji Yu and Tang Mingyuan were just about to speak, But the old man waved his hand. Don't talk. Let me guess. You're so handsome. Are you 19? Ji coughed. No, you're so young and handsome. Oh, 23, is that you? Father misses you so much. As he spoke, the old man wanted to hug Ji with tears in his eyes. Tang Mingyuan awkwardly pulled the old man away and helplessly said with a wry smile, Father, this is my friend. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so old that sometimes I can't recognize people. Come, let me give you a gift. The old man took out a stone from his storage ring. The stone shone brightly. Unexpectedly, the old man took out a high-grade dark stone right off the bat. He said lightly, How long do you two plan to stay here? Tang Mingyuan said directly, Father, this brother is here to find the land of extreme cold. Have you heard of it? The old man fell into deep thought. The land of extreme cold? I remember. In Tianyuan City, there is a place called the Wind Academy. There may be records in the library there. You can go there and look it up. Ji stood up and cupped his hands. Thank you, sir. You're welcome. Why don't you stay tonight and have a meal? We can continue tomorrow. Since there was food, Ji planned to go back and call Xiao Ji. This girl must be bored because there were no good restaurants on the road in the past half a month. Tang Mingyuan saw through Ji's thoughts. Brother Ji, it's still early. Why don't you walk around the city? There are many good places in Tianyuan City. Ji smiled faintly. Sure. After saying this, Ji stood up and the 10 of them stormed into the room. Tang Fei was at the back of the group. Big brother, don't go. That Ji is really powerful. I don't think you can beat him. The person at the very front said disdainfully, That's because your cultivation is low. If he was in my hands, he would just be a dish. As soon as they stepped into the main hall, the 10 of them bowed to the old man at the same time. Greetings, father. After that, the leader looked at Ji and Ji looked in his direction. She could only see that he had a large physique and there was a faint trace of powerful Shen energy in his aura. There was also a faint demonic aura. He should also be a beast profound practitioner. My name is Tang Da, nice to meet you, young master Ji. There were only 3 people in the main hall. Apart from her father and Tang Mingyuan, this young man was the only one left. Although it was indeed inconceivable that Ji could win against her 10th brother at her age. But after looking at Ji a few more times, they all took a deep breath. If this child was allowed to develop, how strong would he become? Ji took a step forward and said faintly, Greetings, young master Tang. After saying this, Tang Da said, Ji Gongzi, I heard that you are very powerful. It just so happens that I am also very bored. I wonder if I can exchange pointers with you? Tang Mingyuan stepped forward. Big brother, what are you doing? He's my friend. Tang Da glanced at Tang Mingyuan, his eyes full of suspicion. Who are you? Tang Mingyuan felt as if a flock of crows flew over his head. If he wasn't wearing the Tang family's clothes, Tang Da probably wouldn't recognize him or Ji as Ji. When he thought of this, his expression became extremely unsightly. He said faintly, Big brother, it's me. How can you forget your smart, cute, and heroic 13th brother? Tang Da patted his head and laughed. It's all my fault. I usually don't care enough for my younger brother. When I have time, I will teach you martial arts. He patted Tang Mingyuan on the shoulder. Ji glanced at the people behind him. They must have the same idea as Big Brother Tang, right? Tang Da smiled awkwardly. Well, they all heard that you defeated our 10th brother. They are also very curious about you, so they came together to find out. If you don't mind, young master, let's play together. Ji smiled faintly. But I have something to do later. Why don't we fight together? The corner of Tang Da's mouth kept twitching. This guy really looked down on the Tang family too much. He actually dared to say such a thing. Tang Da said seriously, if young master thinks it's unfair, the Tang family has pills to restore Shen energy. We can provide you with unlimited amounts of Shen energy. But young master, please don't say such things again. Ji smiled. Young master Tang misunderstood. We are not at the same level. I don't want to hurt you. This sentence was like a continuous slap to his face. Tang Da was very angry when he heard it. Boy, if that's the case, don't blame us for not showing mercy later. Tang Shi sighed in exasperation. However, he wasn't willing to fight Jiyu again. Jiyu and the 9 people came to the courtyard outside the main hall. This big family was worthy of being called a big family. There was actually a huge ring outside the main hall. They stood on the ring. At the same time, they cupped their hands to Jiyu and said, "Young master, please enlighten us." The 10 people moved at the same time. At the same time, a little girl walked out. Old man Tang recognized the little girl at a glance. "Little 29, why are you here?" The little girl pouted and said, "Father, I've said many times. I'm not 29, I'm Tang Ya. You can just call me Xiao Ya. Ha ha ha." Old man Tang patted the little girl's head. Tang Ya shook her hand, but she did look like she was enjoying it. "Father, I've told you many times not to carelessly pat my head. I won't grow tall. You're my girl. This old man can touch you if he wants. Father, you only know how to bully me. What are brother and the others doing? Your brother and your younger brother's friend are fighting. Why don't you go take a look?" Tang Ya walked to the side of the ring with great interest. She watched and saw Jiyu's face. My God, how can there be such a good-looking man in this world? Tang Ya grew up in this family since she was young. The men she saw were all big and burly. When had she ever seen Jiyu like this? Chapter 622. The 9 members of the Tang family looked at each other. Go. Everyone was prepared. They had heard from Tang Shi that Jiyu's body was extremely strong. Therefore, no one intended to hold back. They flew up at the same time. 4 of them were Shen beasts. The first to fly up was Tang Liu, who used a snake-type Shen beast as his beast soul. His body instantly turned into a long snake. It seems that the Tang family had a thorough understanding of Shen beasts. Relying on this skill, they had a powerful strength. Tang Xi's heavy fist came down. Jiyu took a step forward. The war hound's sword in her hand was like a long snake, coiling around Tang Liu's body. Tang Liu's eyes widened, as if he could not believe the scene in front of him. He immediately flew up and said to Jiyu indifferently, "Young master is really strong. However, young master no longer has his own treasure weapon. What can you do to me?" After saying this, Tang Da had already arrived in front of Jiyu. Bear slap. That move seemed to contain all of Tang Da's strength. Jiyu knew very well that Tang Da already knew where his strength lay, so he did not hold back at all. He jumped straight up. She stood on his shoulder and frowned. The bear slap landed on the ground and the entire arena sank into a large crater. Jiyu exerted force in his legs and Tang Da instantly felt a tremendous force pressing down on his shoulders. Even though Jiyu possessed the soul of the black bear beast, he was still unable to withstand it. Even though he was a Shen beast soul, he did not have any strength to resist and sank into the ground. Jiyu flew up. The rest of the people used their own Shen skills. Various Shen skills of different colors rushed up. Brother 30's friend, do your best. While Tang Ya was cheering for Jiyu, the remaining 8 people began to guess. Could it be that their younger sister had taken a fancy to this kid? However, they had already used all their strength and there was no way they could stop now. Otherwise, they would also suffer a huge backlash. They had no choice but to reduce the continuous output of their profound energy. However, all of them charged forward. Although the mystical skill would affect the surroundings, Jiyu jumped up. Just as Tang Da stood up, Jiyu cursed in her heart. If she dodged their attack, then with Tang Da's strength, there was absolutely no way he could dodge this attack. Tang Ya also saw this scene. The people around her also raised their hands in surprise and widened their eyes. "Big brother, run!" Everyone shouted in unison. A whirlwind appeared on Jiyu's fingertips. Fierce wind blade. Ding, the host has used wind blade, obtained 1 by 999 experience points. Although the surrounding wind blades weren't very aggressive, Jiyu's hurricane was strong enough to blow the Tang brothers away. Other than Tang Da, the rest of the people from the Tang family were all sent flying off the stage. Even Tang Xiaoya was affected by the wind and was also sent flying. Ji Yu saw that the girl was only around 16 years old. How strong could her Xian strength be? She quickly moved. Ding, the host has used Dark Forest, obtained 1 by 999 experience points. He flew to the front of the girl and directly carried her in his arms. The two of them looked at each other in the air. Under the influence of the wind, the surrounding leaves fell like a beautiful picture. Under Ji Yu's protection, the two of them landed on the ground at the same time. Tang Ya was still lying down in Ji Yu's arms. Ji Yu pulled her up and said lightly, "Are you okay?" Ji Yu asked with concern. Tang Xiaoya only felt warm in her heart when she heard this. It seemed that she didn't make the wrong choice. This brother was really powerful. Tang Da and the other young masters of the Tang family smiled bitterly. It seemed that a grown girl really couldn't be kept at home. They looked at each other and burst out laughing. Tang Da walked up to Ji Yu very seriously and said respectfully, "Thank you, young master, for saving my life." Tang Shi didn't understand and asked Ji Yu, Big brother Ji is really powerful, but why are you so polite to him?" Tang Da said disdainfully, "You don't understand, right? That move earlier, young master Ji, you clearly could have dodged it, but young master Ji, you did use a profound skill to push us off the stage. Although I am the only one standing on the stage in the end, I admit defeat for this match." After saying this, the crowd finally realized what was going on. He stepped forward and told Ji Yu, "Thank you, young noble Ji Yu, for saving our big brother." Under their respectful attitude, Ji Yu said indifferently, "No need to be so polite. Can you prepare more for tonight's meal?" Everyone looked at each other. Could it be that this young master had a big appetite? Most profound practitioners are body cultivators, so it's normal for them to use up a lot of energy. "Tonight, we'll definitely drink with you," Ji Yu said indifferently. "That's not it. It's just that one of my wives has a big appetite, especially meat." Tang Xiaoya was slightly stunned. He already had a wife. After Ji Yu left, before she could react, her brothers walked up and said to their little sister, "Little sister, either you forget about him, or you can only obediently accept the fact that he has a wife." Tang Xiaoya sighed. She looked at Ji Yu's departing figure. Ji Yu returned to the inn and picked up Xiao Ji Yu. After whispering a few words to Xiao Ji Yu immediately became excited. They walked to the middle of the street and saw that there were countless stores selling things on the street. In one of the largest clothing stores, countless people rushed in. One of them said, "Someone's coming, someone's coming. It's a wide-sleeved flowing dress. Don't miss it." Other than eating, what Xiao Ji Yu liked the most was this set of clothes. She pulled on Ji Yu's hand and said, Big brother, let's go in and take a look." Ji Yu was also willing to bring her to see the world. He brought Xiao Ji Yu into the store and said indifferently, "If you like anything, go take a look." Xiao Ji Yu immediately took a fancy to the wide-sleeved flowing fairy dress that was currently being auctioned. She pointed at the yellow robe and said, "Big brother, I want that." Ji Yu smiled and said, "Okay." Just as the two of them were about to enter the auction floor, two servants suddenly walked up. They extended their hands and stopped Ji Yu and Xiao Ji Yu. They said with disdain, "Where is this place? Go, go, go." Chapter 623. Our place is a high-class marketplace. If you're not a VIP, don't even think of entering. Ji Yu asked, "Then how can I become a VIP?" Hearing Ji Yu's question, one of the manservants said, "That's simple. You just need to apply for our high-class membership. However, this requires 10 low-grade magnetite. It's not something that an ordinary person can take out." "I see." Ji Yu took out a bag and threw it into the other party's hand. The other party opened the bag and saw that there were exactly 10 low-grade magnetite inside. This was something that only mystic cultivators would possess. If an ordinary person wanted to obtain it, they would have to use 100,000 gold coins to exchange for one. If one wanted to exchange for mid-grade magnetite, they would have to take out 100,000 low-grade magnetite. This price was truly hard to imagine. "Esteemed guests, please come in." The two manservants seemed to have changed into another person as they happily welcomed Jiyu and Xiao Jiyu in. They even arranged a good seat for the two of them. After a short while, two more young girls came up with trays filled with food. One of them shouted loudly, "All right, we'll start the auction for the wide-sleeved fairy dress now. The first bid is 100,000 low-grade magnetite." A fellow who looked like a noble young master stood up. 500,000 low-grade magnetite. All right. This young master has bid 500,000. Who else wants to bid? Jiyu raised her hand and said indifferently, 1 million magnetite. What? Everyone's gazes were cast to Jiyu's side. Beside the noble young master, there was a beautiful young girl. Although her appearance could not compare to Xiao Gu's, her breasts were about to burst the long dress on her. Everyone present swallowed a mouthful of saliva. However, this was not the most difficult part to accept. Especially when the girl started to twist her body, her twin peaks swayed continuously. Every man present, except for Jiyu, was dumbfounded by this scene. "Young master, I want that dress. Don't you want me to wear that dress at night?" Then, she whispered a few words into the noble young master's ear. How could the noble young master endure it? He said, 1 million profound stones. Everyone burst into laughter. 1 million profound stones. That young master has already made a bid. Here. I'm not done yet. I'm offering 1 million mid-grade magnetite. After they finished speaking, Jiyu said, then I'll also bid 1 million magnetite. Mo Fei, Mo Fei. Everyone present started to tremble. Could it be that Jiyu was talking about the upper-grade magnetite? A total of 1 million high-grade profound stones, just to buy this small wide-sleeved fairy dress. Wasn't this making a mountain out of a molehill? Everyone was astonished. At this moment, Jiyu spoke again. Naturally, it's high-grade magnetite. What a joke, just Jiyu alone in the 7 great empires, who knows how many mineral veins there are. After hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. That big-breasted beauty was still twisting her body. Are you not going to buy it for me? Well, it's 1 million high-grade magnetite. This was 3/5 of his family's property. How could he continue to bid like this? But if he didn't bid now, this treasure would fall into someone else's hands. He rolled his eyes. I'm Wang Xiong. I wonder if there's anyone in this sky border city who doesn't know me. After hearing this, everyone looked over and said indifferently, I'm offering 1,500,000 high-grade magnetite. But if he wants to bid, he must provide evidence to prove that he has the ability to bid. This young master is so unfamiliar. I'm afraid he's not from our sky border city. That's right. Let him provide evidence. If he gets the dress and can't afford it, what should we do? Everyone was talking at once. The auctioneer also felt that it was very reasonable, so he said, Sorry, young master, we have to verify. No need. Jiyu smiled faintly. Pushing up the price and then retreating? Jiyu didn't care about such tactics at all. He took out a bag and threw it out. The bag appeared in the auctioneer's hand. He opened the bag and looked inside. His divine sense entered the bag and saw 3 million high-grade magnetite. He returned to himself and said indifferently, I've seen this young master's ability. He does have the ability to bid. Impossible. How can such a small bag contain millions of magnetite? That's right. Isn't this bag too small? Everyone started to talk at once. At this moment, he said, How dare you? This is the Myriad Immortals auction house. How dare you not believe what I said? His voice was laced with profound energy. Suddenly, his figure spread throughout the entire auction house. He said indifferently, How much do you want to bid, young master? Jiyu directly raised 2 fingers. 2 million high-grade magnetite. After shouting this, they looked at each other. The young master was so angry that he couldn't speak. He pointed at Jiyu and said, You. After shouting you 3 times, Jiyu said indifferently, How about it? Are you still bidding? The beautiful young lady beside the young master snorted. You're still not bidding? Bid. Do you know what 2 million high-grade spirit stones mean? It can directly make an ordinary aristocratic family become a first-rate aristocratic family. After snorting coldly, he shook off the young lady beside him. "Bitch, are you worth that much?" After shouting this, Jiyu turned around. "In this case, that piece of clothing is mine, right?" The auctioneer nodded. However, Jiyu pointed with his finger. Instantly, that piece of clothing appeared on Xiao Gu's body. The auctioneer sucked in a breath of cold air. Jiyu's technique was simply inconceivable. How could he be so powerful? Their venue was protected by a formation. Even if you were a spirit profound realm expert, it was impossible for you to take anything away from here. But Jiyu, who was in front of him, merely pointed a finger. The clothes were snatched away by him. After Xiao Gu's clothes changed into the wide-sleeved flowing dress, her entire appearance changed. She happily said to Jiyu, "Brother, do you think I look good?" Chapter 624. Jiyu patted Xiao Gu's head. "Our Xiao Jiyu is the cutest." Xiao Jiyu chuckled and spun in a circle. Jiyu brought her back to the Tang family. When the brothers of the Tang family saw how beautiful the girl behind Jiyu was, they all praised her. They all praised Jiyu for being a lucky girl. Jiyu laughed heartily. The head of the Tang family ordered a table full of exquisite dishes. Everyone leaned over the table and started to eat. In the blink of an eye, all the chicken legs were eaten clean. Everyone's eyes widened as they watched Xiao Jiyu gobble down one drumstick after another. Tang Yue looked at Xiao Jiyu. She didn't look like a lady from a noble family at all. If Brother Jiyu liked someone, he should like her. At this moment, Tang Yue picked up a piece of sweet and sour pork and sat beside Jiyu. "Brother Ji, you must be tired from fighting with my brothers this afternoon. Eat something to nourish your body." Jiyu nodded and took a bite of the sweet and sour pork. The brothers of the Tang family all watched this scene. How could their sister, who was usually so domineering, have such a gentle side? In an instant, their envy of Jiyu reached the peak. Jiyu said indifferently, "Thank you, Sister Ya." Just as the Tang family was eating, a few servants suddenly walked in. They cupped their hands and said to the person in the middle, reporting to the head of the family, "There are many people from the Su family outside. They want you to hand Tang Mingyuan over." After saying this, everyone came forward one after another, each of them holding a long saber in their hands. The person in the lead was an old man who was more than 200 years old. He shouted angrily, "Tang Tang, come out. Your Tang family is so capable. You killed my precious grandson and even dealt with the head elder of the Tang family." After shouting this sentence, several people ran out in front of him. They all pulled out a long sword from their arms. The secret guardians of the Tang family were also prepared. Tang Tang walked out with his many sons. What's wrong? The Shi family can't control their own son, and now they want to find trouble with other families. Hearing this, he was furious and snorted at Jiyu. "Brat, I think you're courting death." Elder Shi Li limped forward and whispered a few words into the ears of the man beside him. "What? Brat, are you the one who killed my grandson?" Tang Tang said, "Old Shi, I think you're ignoring my existence, right? Ph, I'm already an expert at the second level of the human profound realm. You, who just stepped into the human profound realm, want to be my enemy?" Everyone from the Tang family was shocked. When did Shi Guanhai advance to such a level? The more they thought about it, the more they panicked. The second level of the human profound realm. Since he entered the human profound realm, the first level is a new world. Now that he has entered the second level of the human profound realm, even old Master Tang is not his opponent. Hearing this, he snorted coldly, "You're boasting shamelessly." After roaring, the Xian energy in his body surged. "Old Shi, prepare to die." In an instant, old Master Tang's Xian energy had reached the second level of the human profound realm. He was covered with a small layer of Xian energy, and in the blink of an eye, he flew over. Old Master Shi was not willing to be outdone. Only Jiyu knew that these two people were still testing each other's strength. Two fists collided. Several rockery in the Tang family were shattered by the Xian energy. It was accompanied by a loud rumbling sound. A loud rumbling sound came from the rockery, and it collapsed one after another. The two of them withdrew their bodies and stood at opposite ends, looking at each other. Old Master Tang, I didn't expect you to be so strong. Old Shu, it's been so many years. You've been allowed to improve, but I can't. After saying this, the two of them charged at each other again. After another fist collision, Old Master Shu realized that Tang Tang's strength was weaker than his. The Xian energy in his body suddenly turned into a blue bird. Xian skill, snatch. After roaring this, the blue bird in Old Master Shu's hand suddenly flew out and continuously sucked the Xian energy in his opponent's body. Seeing this scene, Tang Tang looked at the blue bird in the air. Xian skill, blazing flame flying blade. The Xian energy in his hand turned into a long saber, and he lightly pointed at the blue bird. In an instant, the long saber arrived in front of the blue bird. Old Master Shu snorted and said indifferently, "You think you can do it?" After he shouted those words, he waved his two fingers. Immediately, a burst of profound force erupted from the cyan bird. The cyan bird opened its mouth slightly. In an instant, the profound force continuously merged into the cyan bird's body. Old Master Tang's Xian skill actually disappeared in an instant. Old Master Shu laughed. "You didn't expect this, did you? Old Master Tang, I practiced this move bitterly in order to deal with your Tang family's blazing flame flying blade. My snatch is invincible in defense." After saying this, he smiled faintly. At the same time, he waved his other hand slightly. A long snake formed by Xian energy continuously slithered on the ground. It suddenly flew up, opened its bloody mouth, and bit heavily on Tang Tang's arm. Tang Tang didn't have time to react at all. After being bitten, his face immediately turned green and black. It was obvious that he had been poisoned. 2 streams of blood flowed down from the corners of his mouth. Jiyu said indifferently, "You actually used poison? Kid, it's your turn next." As soon as he finished speaking, Jiyu flew forward in the blink of an eye. She pulled out the long sword at her waist and heavily chopped down on the long snake. Along with a snapping sound, the long snake formed by Xian energy made a snapping sound. The long snake turned into a green mist. Old Master Shu looked in the direction of Jiyu and said indifferently, "I didn't expect you to have some ability. You were actually able to cut down a second-stage human profound realm Xian energy long snake." Jiyu said indifferently, "Thank you, Master Tang, for helping me. However, the poison in your body must be nursed back to health." She threw the medicine bottle in her storage ring into Master Tang's hand. At this moment, Master Tang's heart was being attacked by the poison. He sat cross-legged on the ground, closed his eyes, and began to regulate his breathing. All the sons of the Tang family held weapons in their hands and blocked in front of him. Chapter 625. Brat, you are the culprit who killed my precious grandson. I must kill you first. After shouting this sentence, his figure flashed as he covered his palms with Xian energy and waved them in the direction of Jiyu. Ding, the host used the 3000 cloud movement. Obtained 1 by 999 experience points. In the blink of an eye, Jiyu disappeared from her original spot. A moment later, she appeared behind the old man from the Shu clan. She took out the warhound greatsword in her hand and chopped down heavily. The old man from the Shu clan turned around. His hands were like eagle claws as he grabbed towards Jiyu. Brat, a life for a life, a debt for a debt. You can be on your way. Jiyu's sword chopped down. The old man from the Shu clan did not expect that Jiyu would dare to use this move of exchanging a life for a life. He suddenly retracted his hands and blocked in front of his body. He grabbed the giant sword with one hand. The great sword fell and made a clanking sound. He said indifferently, "Brat, you are really capable." He did not expect that the Xian energy in his body would emit a huge Xian light. The old man from the Shu clan's forehead was filled with sweat as he pointed his fingers. Suddenly, the green bird in the sky flew towards Jiyu. Xian skill, wind-splitting blade. Jiyu knew that if she did not use a Xian skill, she would not be able to defeat this old man. After using a Xian skill, her strength of the first level of the human profound realm could not be concealed. But she already knew that battle strength and cultivation were two completely different things. After breaking through to the spirit profound realm, unless there was a huge difference in strength, the Xian energy in one's body would be the main factor. Heavy Xian energy gathered in her hands. The moment the wind-splitting blade appeared, the old man from the Shi clan suddenly laughed out loud. Didn't you see the miserable state that old man from the Tang clan was in just now? My devouring skill is invincible in defense. No matter how much Xian energy you have, it will become my strength. After shouting this sentence, the blue bird in the air let out a loud roar. It was continuously devouring the Xian energy of the wind-splitting blade in the sky. Haha, old man, you've been fooled. After saying this, the blue bird in the sky suddenly let out a long cry. The green bird circled in the air. It flew in the direction of Ji. However, the reason why Ji chose the ardent windblade was because the attack range of the ardent windblade was really huge. A strong wind blew continuously in this piece of land. The wind was so strong that it was like a scorching blade. The green bird was devouring the profound energy in the scorching wind blade. Just at this moment, the wind in the air blew in all directions. At this moment, those sharp blades blew in the direction of the old man from the Shi clan. Those sharp blades scraped against the old man from the Shi clan. The sharp blades kept scraping against his body. Bloody wounds continued to appear on his body. Blood continued to flow. Seeing this scene, the old man from the Shi clan gasped. He didn't expect Ji to be so powerful. Oh my god, isn't this the human profound realm? I'm afraid that this fierce wind blade has already reached the heaven rank, right? The group of people from the Tang clan cried out loudly. It seemed that it wasn't a loss for them to lose to Ji. After shouting this, Ji flew forward with two swords in his hands. The warhound's great sword suddenly appeared in Ji's hands as he heavily slashed down. The old man from the Shi clan couldn't dodge and could only use the iron eagle claw in his hand to block in front of him. This sword fell heavily, and only a loud cracking sound was heard. The old man's arm fell to the ground. The two of them took a step back and the other said, "Ah, my arm. Old ancestor." The people from the Shi clan were gnashing their teeth at this moment. They all wanted to fight to the death with Ji. After shouting this sentence, they all walked forward. Elder Shi raised his hand and said indifferently, "Wait. What's wrong, Elder Shi?" A trace of doubt appeared on their faces. The old man from the Shi clan said helplessly, "We are not his match at all. Even if we fight to the death, we can only sigh." He saw the situation very clearly. Shi Li asked, "Old ancestor, could it be that we're just going to let this matter go?" After hearing this sentence, the old man from the Shi clan sighed. The old ancestor of the Shi family also sighed and faintly said, "Alas, forget it. Since we don't have a grandson, let him give birth to another one. Boy, although you are very strong, the union of 10,000 immortals is not to be trifled with. You just have to wait for them to come." This old man who had lived for 200 years was really shrewd. After saying this, he waved his hand and turned to leave. After he left the Tang clan, Tang opened his eyes and sighed, "I didn't expect you to offend the union of 10,000 immortals. You should leave quickly. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble." After saying this, Ji smiled faintly, "It's just the union of 10,000 immortals. I don't like it." Boy, what a big tone. Our Tang clan really didn't choose the wrong friend. How about this? Aren't you looking for an extremely cold place? Anyway, you're going to the heavenly border city. Why don't you bring my useless son with you? He can help you at least. Soon, Ji knew how Tang Mingyuan could help her. He had a small bag in his hand. That small bag could lead directly to the Tang clan's warehouse, and he could get as many spirit stones as he wanted. This prodigal son directly bought a fleet of carriages, with chefs, maids, and so on, just to serve the three of them. Ji couldn't help but feel that rich people were really amazing. However, if Tang Mingyuan knew that the wide-sleeved fairy dress on Xiao Jiyu was bought by Jiyu for 2 million high-grade spirit stones, he would probably vomit blood with envy. He calculated in his heart. Jiyu left the mansion, and the fleet was gradually approaching the heavenly border city. Suddenly, several young people fell from the sky. They seemed to be students of a certain sect. I didn't expect that the mortal world has developed to this extent. Of course, our heavenly gold sect cultivates in the deep mountains and has little contact with the mortal world. Naturally, we don't know the changes in the world. The 5 people were 3 men and 2 women. The man in the lead was particularly enthusiastic about a junior sister. Junior sister, why are you sweating? Come and wipe it. Senior brother, I'm tired. Although I know I shouldn't say this, I really want to sit in the carriage. Haha, okay, junior sister, wait a moment. He looked around and set his eyes on Jiyu and the others. Chapter 626. He waved his long robe and elegantly walked to the front of Jiyu and the others' carriage. That person cupped his hands and said, "Young master, I'm Niu Peng. Greetings to the owner of the carriage." Tang Mingyuan opened the curtain of the carriage and asked with a yawn, "What's wrong?" Niu Peng said, "I'm the first disciple of the Longevity Hall under the Jincheng School. My fellow disciples are here to rent your carriage. How much do you think it is?" Tang Mingyuan said with disdain, "What Jincheng School? I've never heard of it. Get lost." Niu Peng had never been humiliated like this before. The corners of his mouth twitched as he said heavily, "Our Jincheng School is a Xian sect that has been passed down since ancient times. How can we allow you to humiliate us like this?" After saying that, Jiyu suddenly stood up and said faintly, "Brother, my friend spoke rudely just now. It's not appropriate, but we don't want to rent a carriage. You can't block our way in front of us." After saying this, Niu Peng's expression became even more unsightly. However, when he looked in Jiyu's direction, Tang Mingyuan said, Niu Peng said indifferently, "Kid, you've gone too far. Take my sword." After saying that, he flew up and arrived in front of Jiyu. He stabbed down with his sword, and Jiyu grabbed Tang Mingyuan and Xiao Jiyu with a single move. He flew up and landed behind the carriage. He said indifferently, "Brother, it's not right to fight just because of a disagreement, right?" After hearing Jiyu's words, Niu Peng smiled slightly. "We Shen cultivators have a high status. So what if I teach you a lesson?" After saying this, he waved his hand. The people behind him lowered their heads and started to discuss. "What's wrong? Look, senior brother is fighting with someone. Let's go help." They all gathered together, and Shishan's profound energy suddenly erupted at this moment. They raised their palms. They all rushed towards Jiyu and in the blink of an eye, they waved the profound energy in their hands towards Jiyu. Jiyu raised her hand and slapped the other party's palm away. Niu Peng's junior brothers had never expected that Jiyu would actually be able to break through their profound skill with a single slap. The remaining few people raised the artifacts in their hands. He aimed at Jiyu, who was in front of him, and disappeared from where he was in the blink of an eye. In the next second, he appeared in front of Jiyu and stabbed him with his sword. Jiyu grabbed each of them with one hand and flung them in another direction. All of them were lying on the ground, and only the 2 female profound practitioners hadn't moved at all. Both of them blushed and retreated in front of Jiyu. Jiyu said indifferently, "This brother, it seems that your Jin Cheng lineage isn't that capable." After saying this, the 2 beside her were furious. Niu Peng was even more furious and said to Jiyu, "Kid, you're courting death." He disappeared from his original spot and in the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Jiyu and stabbed his sword. Jiyu merely raised his hand and used 2 fingers to clamp down on the long sword in front of him. With a gentle twist of his fingers, the grade 3 treasure weapon suddenly broke apart. "What? This is the artifact that my master passed down to me." Jiyu smiled and said to Niu Peng, "Your master doesn't seem to value you. It's just a 3rd-grade artifact." "What? You actually dare to humiliate me?" Jiyu smiled and in the blink of an eye, the giant sword of the war hounds appeared in her hand. It's actually a 7th-grade artifact." His eyes were filled with shock. Not only was Jiyu's strength far superior to his, even the artifact on her was much better than his. It seemed that their Golden City Gate was indeed too far apart from this world. Niu Peng didn't have any intention of resisting and immediately stopped. She cupped her hands and said, "I was wrong." After saying this, Jiyu smiled and said, "It's good that you know you were wrong. We'll take our leave first." He glanced at Xiao Jiyu and Tang Mingyuan before the three of them returned to the carriage. The carriage swayed as it entered Heavenly Border City. Not long after they left, a middle-aged man in a cyan robe appeared in the blink of an eye. Although he looked like a middle-aged man, he had lived for 400 years and was a profound practitioner in the middle of the third level of the human profound realm. He looked at his 5 disciples who looked like frosted eggplants standing in front of a tree. He frowned and said, "What happened to the 5 of you?" Niu Peng stood up and cupped her hands and said, "We just met a young man who was actually above the 8th level of the spirit profound realm. Moreover, the artifact on him was also a 7th grade artifact." What? A 7th grade artifact? Even though profounders shouldn't be greedy, a grade 7 treasured artifact was truly too attractive. Especially for peerless experts like them, if they were able to obtain a grade 7 treasured artifact, then they would be able to change many things. Especially when he was only a small hall master. Above him were the protectors, elders, and finally the sect master. Thinking of this, he said, "Where did they go?" "They walked into Heavenly Border City." Good. It seemed that he already had the idea of killing them and stealing their artifacts. Jiyu didn't know about this. After they entered Heavenly Border City, they found someone to ask. Looking for clues wasn't something that could be done in a day or two. Jiyu said, "Why don't we find a place to stay first?" An old man said, "If you want to buy a house, there's a manor in the western suburbs that can accommodate 30 people. However, I heard that place is haunted." Haunted? In the world of profound practitioners, there was actually such a thing as being haunted. Jiyu suddenly had a trace of interest and said to him, "I don't know where that place is. Please lead the way." It just so happened that they had 30 people. It would be best if they could find a place to stay. When they arrived in front of the manor's master walked out with dark eyes. Jiyu went forward and bowed. "I wonder if Mr. is the master of this manor." The master was slightly stunned and said politely, "Yes." Jiyu nodded in satisfaction and asked, "If that's the case, can we buy your manor?" Chapter 627. The owner's heart was immediately filled with joy. Great. The owner couldn't sleep well because of the haunted house. However, this matter had become famous, so no one in Tianjing City came forward to buy it, no matter how many people there were. Seeing this scene, Jiyu stepped forward, cupped her hands, and said lightly, "How much do you think is appropriate?" The owner pinched his face. After confirming that he wasn't asleep, he said in surprise, "Then, young master, there is one thing, I don't know if I should say it. I also know that after this matter is told, the price of my manor will be lowered by you, or because of this, you won't buy it. However, there is a female ghost in the manor, and she is very scary." Jiyu said with a faint smile, "I'm not afraid of ghosts. Just name the price." The owner thought for a moment. Since Jiyu wasn't afraid at all, he wouldn't be polite. "Then 100,000 gold coins. What do you think, young master?" Jiyu thought for a moment and nodded. "Okay." After saying this, Jiyu directly took out a bag from her arms. There were indeed 100,000 gold coins in the bag. After getting the 100,000 gold coins, the owner looked at the mysterious bag and realized that Jiyu was such a powerful existence. After thinking of this, he took a step forward. Wait. At this time, 3 groups of people wearing different clothes and colors came over. Aren't they the leaders of the 3 major gangs, Master Long, Master Hu, and Watchang? Greetings, lords. They waved their hands. The one called Master Long said, "I'm not a lord. Who doesn't know that Master Long is in Tianjing City? Even the city lord has to give him face." After hearing this, everyone agreed. At this time, one of them stepped forward and said to Jiyu in front of him, "Boy, our boss has taken a fancy to this place. Hurry up and leave. I've already offered to buy this place. How can I give up now?" After Jiyu said this, the owner also felt that what Jiyu said made sense. However, in this world, the fist was bigger. "Who asked you to be so weak?" He said, "Boy, are you going to go against our 3 major gangs?" Jiyu smiled faintly, "You're being unreasonable. Then let's go against each other." The owner walked forward in fear and pulled Jiyu's sleeve. "Young master, you can't. They are all Xian cultivators, and even the city lord has to give them face. Jiyu smiled faintly. Thank you, sir. After saying this, a thunderbolt suddenly sounded in the sky. They raised their hands and faced Jiyu, who was standing in front of them, and said, "Kill." After shouting the word kill, the dragon gang member was the first to move. He charged in Jiyu's direction. A precious weapon suddenly appeared in his hand and he swung his sword heavily, piercing towards Jiyu's direction. Jiyu's figure flashed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, she floated in the air. Ding! The host used the fierce wind blade. Obtained 1 by 999 experience points. After the sound was heard, the fierce wind blade blew over in an instant. A strong wind blew, and the hurricane blew. Although the dragon gang members were all Xian cultivators, they were all Xian cultivators. But when the evil wind blew, there were many wounds on their bodies. There were many cuts on his body, and some of them were even slightly weaker. They fell into a pool of blood one after another. The first person to stand in front of Jiyu raised his hand, and the sword in his hand instantly appeared in it. Master Long said slowly, "Brother, you have some strength, but I am an expert in the 9th level of the Spirit Profound Realm." Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, Tang Mingyuan laughed out loud. He rolled on the ground and kept hitting the ground. He slowly opened his mouth and said, "Go." As soon as the word came out of his mouth, everyone instantly charged in Jiyu's direction. He said indifferently, "Kid, watch my sword." The Long family members instantly disappeared from the ground and appeared in front of Jiyu in the next moment. Jiyu swung her sword heavily. The two swords collided, and the two people retreated respectively. Jiyu swung the war hound's giant sword. In the blink of an eye, her sword contained the power of raging flames. Ding! The host used Raging Flames Burning City. Obtained 1 by 999 experience points. The raging flames attached to the warhound's giant sword. When the sword swung down, it landed heavily on the opponent's body. At this moment, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body softened and fell to the ground. Jiyu took a step back and said indifferently, "Still want to go?" The strength that Jiyu displayed was God knows how many times higher than the people from these 3 sects. They looked at each other and helped each other up. "Not going, not going." Jiyu said indifferently, "Scram." After saying this, they ran out of the room. The master saw that although Jiyu was strong, Jiyu was not as strong as he was. He took out a bag from his bosom and handed it to Jiyu. They cupped their hands and said, "Sorry, young master, it's better if we don't interact in the future." Jiyu smiled faintly, "I know what you are afraid of. Then, let's say goodbye here." The masters all sat in their carriages and fled in panic. Jiyu looked at the residents in front of her and said indifferently, "Let's go in." The maids and servants that Tang Mingyuan bought carried all the things into the mansion. These servants didn't dare to live in the 6 courtyards in front of them, but behind the 6 courtyards, there were dozens of small houses where the servants lived. However, they were also afraid of ghosts. They looked at each other. One of them walked out and said, "What should we do now? But I think that our young master's friend is very strong. Even if there is a female ghost, she will not be his match." Time slowly passed. After eating dinner, Jiyu and Xiao Jiyu returned to the room. Jiyu was about to meditate and cultivate when Xiao Jiyu suddenly grabbed his hand. There were some things that one would want to taste again after tasting the forbidden fruit. She pulled Jiyu's hand and walked to the bedside. Jiyu took off his clothes. Just as the two were about to move to the next step. Suddenly, in the night sky, there were bursts of lightning, followed by heavy rain. The sound of sobbing could be heard in this small courtyard. Everyone hid under the blankets and shivered. Chapter 628. Jiyu stood up and yawned. He sensed what happened just now and walked out of this small courtyard. He saw a clap of thunder in the sky. Jiyu's mental strength radiated to the entire manor in an instant. A cloud of black fog was in the direction of the kitchen. Jiyu's figure flashed. Ding! The host used the 3000 cloud movement and gained 1 by 999 experience points. He came to the kitchen and kicked the door open. "Who are you? How dare you make trouble in my manor?" The cloud of black fog gradually took shape, and a woman in a black robe appeared in front of Ji-yu. "Are you that female ghost?" The female ghost looked in the direction of Ji-yu with disheveled eyes. He said lightly, "If you don't speak, I won't be polite anymore." Hearing Ji-yu's words, the female ghost turned into a cloud of black fog again and flew directly in the direction of Ji-yu. Ji-yu saw the cloud of black fog. He waved his palm heavily. It was accompanied by a loud bang. The female ghost was hit by Ji-yu's palm, which contained the dark force, and was immediately sent flying. She hit the kitchen table and fell to the ground. Ji-yu took a step forward. Only then did the female ghost stand up. There were very few people who could receive Ji-yu's palm strike and come out unscathed. Ji-yu said lightly, "You have some ability." At this time, the female ghost's mouth made a squeaking sound. Ji-yu heard this sentence and suddenly smiled. He could understand this sentence. This female ghost was actually a beast woman. She was a beast woman who had evolved from a dark beast. If she was taken to the auction house and auctioned, it was unknown how much she could be sold for. Ji-yu said lightly, "Come here." The beast woman looked at Ji-yu in surprise. Ji-yu could actually understand her words and even speak them out loud. Her face was filled with astonishment. Everyone in the mansion gathered outside the door. When they saw that Ji-yu could make the female ghost come to them obediently, they were shocked speechless. "Our young master's friend is really powerful," they said one after another. Ji-yu said, "Why did you appear in the human world?" The female ghost knelt on the ground and screamed. The beast woman then said, "We mother and daughter went out to train and came to Heavenly Border City. But we didn't expect that we would be plotted against. They all want our beast souls. That's why we are here today." When Ji-yu heard this, she sighed and said faintly, "You guys can stay here. I still have the ability to protect you." Ji-yu thought that now she had offended two groups of people in one fell swoop. It didn't matter to her. Anyway, they were no match for her, but the rest of the people were different. Tang Mingyuan and the others were still weak. If she wanted them to have the ability to protect themselves. Ji-yu heard that the City Lord's mansion had been attacked. She would go to the City Lord's mansion tomorrow to have a look. Early the next morning, Ji-yu came to the City Lord's mansion. When the two servants learned that Ji-yu had come, they laughed. "You are the sect leader of the Ice Sealing sect. We are the prince of the Eastern region. Get out of here. Don't waste our time." Ji-yu took out a token, which was given to her by the prince of the Eastern region. As long as one saw this token, even the city lord had to give her face. But she didn't expect that the people of the Northern Region Empire didn't even know about this token. It seemed that the Ice Sealing sect had to develop vigorously here. Ji-yu put a scroll on the mystic bird. In the blink of an eye, the mystic bird flew into the sky. But now it was time to establish a gang here. Let's call it the Dragon Slaying Gang. He found a few servants and asked them to inquire about the whereabouts of the Xian practitioners who had turned into gangs. When Xian practitioners reached a certain level, they disdained to become members of gangs. But there were also some Xian practitioners who knew that they had no hope of advancing in this lifetime, so they directly joined gangs or went to some big families to become thugs, so that they could enjoy a life of wealth. Before long, someone reported that they were at a place called Fulai Inn. There were countless Xian practitioners waiting for gangs to come to recruit them. Ji-yu brought Tang Mingyuan, the prodigal son, to Fulai Inn. He sat down and said faintly, "Waiter, serve the tea." A waiter walked up and put the teacup on the table. He said faintly, "Sir, are you here to seek riches or to eat?" Ji-yu said faintly, "Of course I'm here to look for experts." After saying that, the waiter pointed to the other side. He said faintly, "Look, those people over there are all Xian practitioners. You can choose as you wish." Ji-yu looked to the other side and saw that there were many people bragging about how powerful they were. But they were all in the defensive profound realm, so their ranks were not high. But the people on the other side were all sitting at the table, waiting for something. But they didn't look like experts. Ji-yu stood up and smiled faintly. "They're just some noble people. Is there anyone more powerful?" The waiter knew that Ji-yu was a sharp-eyed person, so he smiled and pointed to the second floor. "Sir, the person you need may be upstairs." Ji said, "Oh," and stood up. "Thank you, waiter." After saying that, he took out 2 pieces of Shen stones and put them in the basin. The waiter knew who Ji was. He knew that Shen stones were used to pay here, not gold coins. Ji walked to the 2nd floor. The moment she stepped in, countless spiritual energies pressed down on Ji. Ji smiled and said faintly, "I'm Ji, the future head of your family." They couldn't help but smile. Ji looked young, but her tone was big. One of the boorish men said, "Could it be that this fortune inn is treating profounders like us in such a manner? Why are they letting random people into the 2nd floor? That's right, little girl. Get out of the way." At this moment, Ji stood up and said faintly, "Mate, I think you're just trash." After saying this, powerful dark force instantly erupted from the bodies of these dozens of people. The incomparably powerful dark force directly pressed down on them. Ji smiled faintly and punched out. Powerful Shen Qi burst out at this moment. Chapter 629. Ji's punch was filled with a powerful burst of profound force. A few of them were sent flying backwards. After crashing into the stone pillar behind them, they spat out a mouthful of blood. Who would have thought that such a young brat would actually have such strength? They stared at Ji dumbfoundedly and sucked in a breath of cold air one after another. This was truly too inconceivable. Ji coldly looked at everything around him and said indifferently, "Do you think that I have the qualifications now?" After hearing this, they all knelt on the ground and said to Ji, "We greet the young master." Ji said indifferently, "How much is your price?" A few of them looked at each other and said embarrassedly, "We are only at the initial stage of the spirit profound realm. We didn't think that we would have the qualifications to follow the young master. As for gold coins, as long as we can eat our fill, it's fine." Although that was the case, Ji understood that as long as he didn't give a good price, these guys would definitely not agree. Ji smiled faintly and said, "If that's the case, then how about we give you 30 middle-grade profound stones per month?" A group of profound practitioners knelt on the ground and said to Ji, "This price is the price that we are most willing to accept. Thus, we thank the young master here. We are willing to serve the young master." Since he already had manpower, he first had to train them into useful talents. Ji ordered people to find an empty space. First, he had to have the most basic understanding of his subordinates. More than 50 people stood in an orderly manner in front of Ji. Tang Mingyuan specially had 2 people place the table on the ground and then put the teacups and snacks on the table. Ji said indifferently, "You really are thoughtful." The 2 people sat on the large chairs and swayed their legs while eating sunflower seeds. Tang Mingyuan waved the fan in his hand and asked the people in front of him, "What kind of strength do you all have?" Because of Ji's previous actions, everyone was sincerely convinced by Ji's wishes. Among them, the oldest person cupped his hands and said, "Reporting to young master, I am Wang Qing, and I am at the 3rd level of the spirit profound realm." Ji nodded. After that, one by one, the profound practitioners reported the stages of their profound strengths. However, the most valiant person amongst them was Wang Qing. Ji pointed at Wang Qing and said, "From today onwards, you will be their captain. You will be called the Divine Wind Guard." Tang Mingyuan chuckled. "Young master, your idea is great." Ji indifferently said, "However, you are still far from becoming a member of the Divine Wind Guard. Without strength at the 8th level of the spirit profound realm, you will be eliminated. Of course, with the pills in my hands, I can raise each and every one of you by 1 level. However, this kind of strength is empty. Therefore, all of you must work hard to become true profound practitioners." True profound practitioners? The people standing here all knew that there was no hope for them to take another step forward in the future. That was why they submitted to the aristocratic family. If they had this kind of ability, would they still need to rely on others? Everyone lowered their heads one after another. Tang Mingyuan whispered into Ji's ear. Ji indifferently said, "Don't you all want to establish your own sect in the future and see the supreme glory?" When these words were spoken, everyone lowered their heads one after another. Wang Qing took the lead and took a step forward. He cupped his hands and said, I want to follow young master and see the supreme glory. Ji nodded in satisfaction. She indifferently said, if that's the case, then from now on, all of you must be prepared to give up your lives here. Everyone looked at each other. What young master said was very reasonable, but for them to accept it in such a short time, it was indeed very difficult. Ji did not care about them. She just ran around the 300-mile-wide field. Seeing how hard Ji was running without using her own profound strength, everyone guessed. No wonder we don't have Ji Gong's strength. Thinking of this, they followed Ji and ran. Unknowingly, time passed by bit by bit. Tang Mingyuan walked in with a group of people and put the bowl of rice in his hand on the table. Although the training was tough, Ji did not treat them poorly in terms of food. They ate all profound beasts. Ji indifferently said, brothers, this thing tastes bad in the first bite, but from the second bite, it tastes good. Ji took the lead and ate a mouthful of meat in front of her. The rest of the people followed Ji and also tasted it. However, the impact of the profound strength in the first bite of meat impacted their internal organs to one side. They spat out a mouthful of blood. Their bodies seemed to be burned by flames. Ji took a step forward and indifferently said, don't move. Feel it with your heart. Then, Ji gradually released the profound strength in her hand and infused it into the other party's body. As the profound strength continued to infuse into the other party's body, Ji said indifferently, come over here. After saying this, the people in front of her took a step forward. At this moment, the profound strength in their hands suddenly condensed in the dantian. Ji touched Wang Qing's forehead. All of a sudden, the profound force gathered in his head. In that instant, the dark force fused into various parts of his body. Gradually, the profound strength broke through every acupoint in his body. However, this was only the profound strength breaking through the acupoints. Wang Qing opened his eyes. He did not expect such a disgusting thing to have such an effect. He grabbed the profound beast meat in front of him and ate it, but the meat did not have any effect. Ji said indifferently, the profound strength seems to have gathered. After he finished saying those words, the profound energy gathered on Ji's body. Ji tapped on his forehead. Although the profound strength did not break through, he did not expect that in an instant, they would walk into the room with Wang Qing beside them. He said indifferently, don't move. Ji said indifferently, come on. After someone took the lead, the rest of the people started to eat the profound beast meat in front of them. After saying this, they turned their heads and wanted to vomit. However, they resisted the urge to vomit so that they would not. Ji said indifferently, just hold on. He walked forward one by one and tapped on the profound strength in their foreheads. Chapter 630. One by one, their physiques began to increase. Ji looked at this scene with satisfaction. Then, the rest of the people stood up one after another. After everyone had eaten their fill, Ji said indifferently, all of you, hurry up and start running. After saying this, everyone started running. After eating the Shen beast meat, the Shen qi in their bodies instantly covered their entire bodies. A lot of the Shen meat started to be digested at this time. This caused their physiques to undergo a huge change. Then, Ji placed an earth rank profound skill that was suitable for a group of people on the ground. Although this was an earth rank profound skill, it had the ability to evolve as the user used it. At this moment, everyone stood up one after another. In an instant, they started to learn the profound skill in their hands. However, how could it be so easy to learn a profound skill? Ji decided that when their physiques were about the same, she would bring them into the profound practitioner forest. As time passed, Ji slowly took a step forward. Suddenly, at this moment, she used the profound skill in front of her. After seeing Ji use that profound skill, everyone admired Ji even more. Ji said indifferently, all of you, don't move. After saying this, the profound energy in front of him burst out at this moment. The profound skill hit the rows of wooden dolls in front of her. At this moment, those wooden dolls started to shatter. He said, as long as you learn how to use this move, Even a profound practitioner at the 5th level of the spirit profound realm would not be able to affect you. They looked at each other. It's really too strong. Jiyu took a step forward and said indifferently, "Are you all ready?" "We're ready." Everyone gathered in their hands and sat cross-legged on the ground. They gathered their profound energy in their dantian and then used the profound skill according to the instructions in the profound skill. A loud rumbling sound was heard. Suddenly, the stone pillars on top of the boulder collapsed one after another. Their eyes were filled with fear. However, they didn't dare to believe that they had used that move themselves. They were all profound practitioners who relied on the accumulation of medicinal pellets. When they encountered an opponent, they automatically dropped 3 levels. In other words, their strength was at most in the defensive profound realm. It was simply impossible for them to shatter those stone pillars. Jiyu said calmly, "This is your strength. Don't worry." After Jiyu said this, everyone shouted excitedly. However, they also understood that this was only the first day they started to change. After that, he had to rely on himself to become stronger every day. After saying this, they ran out. Jiyu said calmly, "Your future is in your own hands. For the last person, we will use an elimination system. It will be very difficult for you to return to the official list." After everyone heard this, they ran even faster. Jiyu smiled and handed the training here to Wang Qing. Tang Mingyuan looked at this boring training. He had long had enough of it. He pulled Jiyu and walked out. Jiyu said calmly, "Are you that impatient? It is said that there is a place called Heavenly Earth in Tianjing City. That is every man's tender home." He said it in an extremely lascivious manner. Jiyu also felt that it was extremely lascivious. The two of them arrived in front of Heavenly Earth. A woman in her 50s walked out and said calmly, "Young masters, are you here to have fun?" Tang Mingyuan smiled and handed a piece of profound stone to her. Feeling the profound energy in her hand, the woman immediately became happy. "Young masters, please come in." They led them in and arranged a room for the two of them. At this moment, a melodious song floated up. Jiyu and the others were stunned. They only saw countless petals gradually falling from the sky. They sprinkled all over the ground. Looking at these petals, a woman spun in the air and landed. Jiyu could only be described with one word at this moment: beautiful beyond compare. The young girl held a peeper in her hands and began to play a melodious tune. Tang Mingyuan said, "I didn't expect that they would invite such an outstanding singer." The girl sang while playing the peeper in her hand. Tang Mingyuan said, "I want her tonight." He slammed the table heavily. Jiyu said calmly, "Then I wish young master Tang a good time tonight." Tang Mingyuan stood up and said calmly, 5,000 high-grade profound stones. Miss Yuan Chu will be my disciple tonight." Everyone knew that Tang Mingyuan had taken a fancy to Miss Yuan Chu. He stood up and said calmly, "Is there anyone who wants to bid with me?" Then, a noble young master also stood up and said calmly, "I also bid 30,000 high-grade profound stones. I wonder if this young master can bid a higher price than me." Hearing this, Tang Mingyuan felt that someone was provoking him over money. He could not accept this. He said heavily, 50,000 high-grade profound stones. 100,000. The noble young master fanned the fan in his hand and said calmly, "It's only 100,000 high-grade profound stones. How dare you? I'll bid 300,000 high-grade profound stones to buy Miss Yuan Chu's virginity. How about that?" Tang Mingyuan folded the fan angrily. 1,000,000 high-grade profound stones. Then, the noble young master stared at him angrily and said heavily, "Are you crazy?" After shouting this, Tang Mingyuan said, "I'm the 30th son of the Tang family, young master Tang Mingyuan. If you're not convinced, you can bid higher." The procuress had never expected that Miss Yuan Chu could be auctioned at such a high price. Jiyu said calmly, "Congratulations." Although Miss Yuan Chu was very beautiful, she was not even half as beautiful as Xiao Jiyu and the others. Jiyu had nothing to do with her. As long as his brother liked her, it was fine. Right at this moment, the noble young master returned with a dozen or so people. "I'm Long Ping, the young master of the Dragon Gang. Today, you've violated the law of Tianjing City. The Dragon Gang has the permission of the Lord of Tianjing City to enforce the law on his behalf. Guards, seal this place and take those 2 people back. The procuress walked to Long Ping and said, I'm afraid it's inappropriate for you to do this. Humph, what's wrong? I'm Long Ping. Chapter 631. If I say they are guilty, then they are guilty. But for these 2 people to be able to pay such a high price, they must not be ordinary people. Long Ping said disdainfully, do you think I didn't investigate? These 2 are just people from Sky Border City. How strong can a family from a small border city be? Tang Mingyuan released the strength of the 9th level of the Spirit Profound Realm. Ji Yu had asked Tang Mingyuan if he wanted to accept the inheritance. He could help him find it. But after he said that, Tang Mingyuan immediately lay on the ground and pretended to be dead. He waved his fan and said, as for my lifespan, it's enough for me. As for other things, I don't have extravagant hopes. Anyway, I'm a master who lives one day at a time. The 2 of them pulled out their swords and directly attacked Ji Yu. Ji Yu leaped up and arrived in front of the 2 men. She grabbed one of their wrists and flung them away. They collided with the table in the celestial world. He smiled slightly and said faintly, do you want to continue? Long Ping's eyes widened. How could it be? How could these 2 people be so strong? His mind was racing. Kill. The surrounding brothers of the Dragon Gang attacked Ji Yu. Profound skill, 10,000 thunderous strikes. Ji Yu raised the Warhound greatsword in her hand and pointed it to the sky. Suddenly, the clear sky was suddenly covered by dark clouds. At the same time, 10,000 feet of heavenly lightning struck down. The roof of earthly paradise was originally made of top-grade black iron. Logically speaking, if not an expert of the 7th level of the human profound realm came, it would not be able to break it. But Ji Yu borrowed the power of heavenly lightning. With this strike, it directly broke into pieces. The remaining heavenly lightning struck the crowd. Everyone spat out a mouthful of black smoke and then slowly fell to the ground. Ji Yu's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. Ding, the host used 10,000 feet of thunder. Obtained experience points 1 by 999. The Warhound's giant sword in Ji Yu's hand slashed out. A sword chi formed from profound energy flew out quickly and left a trail of blood on Long Ping's neck. A trace of fear appeared in the eyes of the remaining people. He immediately turned his head and flew away from heavenly earth. The brothel keeper waved her scarf and said, "Oh my God, what did I do wrong? I'm so miserable." Ji Yu threw a bag of magnetite in front of her. The procuress, who had been pouring pear blossoms a moment ago, suddenly smiled like a peach blossom in full bloom. Tang Mingyuan picked up Miss Yuan Chu, who was still on the ground with an ignorant look. "Little darling, I've already paid the profound stones. You're mine tonight." Yuan Chu curled up his body in fear. "Well, I'm a performer, not a prostitute." Tang Mingyuan was immediately a little unhappy. "How about this, I will redeem you. From today onwards, you will only serve me. I presume you are still a Yuanzi, right?" Yuan Chu hummed in response. Tang Mingyuan laughed out loud and returned to his carriage with her in his arms. Ji Yu looked in his direction and shook his head. She wandered around Tianjing City. Suddenly, an old man came out and took Ji Yu's hand, saying, "Guest, come here and have a look. The Imperial Gambling House. Isn't this a place to gamble? Yes, here, you can have everything you want. Come in and have a look." Ji Yu smiled faintly and followed him in. However, the things that were gambled here were not only magnetite and gold coins, but also the woman in front of him. Everything was on the gambling table. This was the territory of the Anika gang. There were only things you couldn't think of, but nothing you couldn't play. Ji Yu smiled faintly and casually played a big or small game. With his physique changed by the sky-splitting skill, no matter how the dice changed, it couldn't escape Ji Yu's ears. Ji Yu suddenly opened her eyes and bet all the magnetite on big. After the bets were opened, the expression of the banker turned extremely ugly. After a few more rounds, Ji Yu won back almost all the women here. Ji Yu said faintly, "From now on, if you don't have a place to go, you can work in my mansion." If you have a place to go, you can take some magnetite and go home. As soon as she finished speaking, several people came forward and took some magnetite in front of them. Then they left. But more girls knew that as long as they left this door, they might be caught by these animals. Thinking of this, they followed Gu. Gu played 2 more rounds and lost a portion of the magnetite. This was already the most benevolent thing she could do. He put on his clothes and walked out. As soon as he stepped out of the alley, 70 or 80 people suddenly surrounded Gu in front of him. Boy, do you want to leave after winning? You even took away so many of our girls. Gu raised her head and looked at a man in a white robe in front of her. She said faintly, "What do you want from winning or losing? If you don't cheat, how can you win money? Brothers, let's go." After shouting this sentence, several people suddenly raised their heads and locked their eyes on Gu. Then, this guy waved his hand heavily. Everyone rushed in Gu's direction. Gu suddenly raised her hand and waved it heavily. Suddenly, the magnetite in front of her exploded. The people in front of her were sent flying by Gu's attack. They all spat out blood and looked in Gu's direction with resentment. Gu suddenly jumped up and waved the magnetite in her hand. In an instant, all the lights gathered together. It was accompanied by a loud rumbling sound. Everyone in the alleyway was sent flying. Those girls who had been oppressed for a long time rushed in front of them and kicked them continuously. "Who told you to bully us? Bastard, bastard, bully us, bully us." Every one of them seemed to be addicted to kicking. Every girl felt a burst of joy in their hearts. She said faintly, "Thank you, Ji Gongzi, for saving our lives." The people of Anika gang never expected that one day, they would be beaten to such a state by these gamblers. Jiu said faintly, "Let's go back." When they returned to the mansion, it just so happened that the guards in the mansion had just returned from their training. When they saw these beautiful young ladies, their eyes revealed a glimmer of light. Jiu did not care about their mess. According to the rules of the mansion, as long as you don't use force, you can win their favor. "It's up to you." Jiu's words made all the guards jump in excitement. At this moment, there was a clap of thunder in the sky. In the dense forest outside Tianjing City, there was a beastly roar. Everyone became vigilant. The guards of Tianjing City rushed out directly. Each of them was holding a precious weapon and looked vigilant. At this moment, there was another clap of thunder in the sky. The soldiers of Tianjing City surrounded the city wall. Jiu's sky-splitting skill suddenly operated on its own. Logically speaking, if the sky-splitting skill could operate on its own, it must be that something in the deep forest of Tianjing City was summoning it. Jiu looked at the guards in her mansion and said faintly, "Brothers, let's go." As soon as Jiu shouted, the people in the surroundings stopped smiling and leaped onto the trees around them, all of them wielding their artifacts. They kept running to the big tree in front of them. He glanced forward. Jiu said faintly, "Look in front." Wang Qing looked at the city wall in front of him and raised his hand high. Countless people jumped down. With precious weapons in their hands, they rushed into the deep forest. They saw the surrounding light shining brightly in an instant. They took out their precious weapons and saw countless Shen beasts running crazily toward the entrance of the city wall. Even when they saw these ferocious beasts, they felt a trace of fear in their hearts. The leader of the soldiers shouted loudly, "Brothers, let's go." After shouting this sentence, Li Yundong was stunned. All the soldiers gradually took a step forward with precious weapons in their hands. At this moment, the light in the sky shone down and enveloped the city wall. Countless Shen beasts hit the light shield on the city wall. Suddenly, the Shen beasts roared and seemed to be unable to exert their strength. They fell to the ground one by one. Jiu said, "This is the best opportunity for you to improve. Go." After Jiu shouted these words, the guards beside her rushed into the gap next to the city wall. When the soldiers saw them rushing into the city wall, they raised their hands anxiously and shouted at them, "You guys, don't go in. You will die." However, after they entered, Jiu followed behind them. With Jiu's protection, at least their lives would not be in danger. At this moment, the few people in front of them landed on the ground. They said, "Young master, we have entered the deep forest." After saying this, they raised their hands and pointed their precious weapons in the direction of Jiyu. At this moment, an 8th level Xian beast appeared in front of them. "This is an 8th level Xian beast. How did it come out?" "Yes. Aren't they in the deep forest?" In their eyes, there was a trace of fear in each of their eyes. Jiyu said faintly, "What are you afraid of?" Hearing this, everyone looked at each other. Jiyu knew that these people did not have enough confidence in themselves. He said faintly, "What are you afraid of? It's just a matter of being cocky if you die. If you are cocky, follow me in." Chapter 632. When the rest of the guards heard this, they all became excited. That's right, a person's death was nothing more than a joke. They followed Jiyu and the 8th grade mystic beast in front of them and handed over their weapons. Jiyu took the first step forward. Mystic technique, Raging Inferno. Ding, the host used Raging Inferno and gained 1 by 999 experience points. Jiyu deliberately suppressed the ball of flames in front of him. The flames in his sword directly surrounded the wolf. However, Jiyu did not immediately attack. Instead, he quietly watched the scene in front of him. He smiled faintly. "Now it's your turn." Under Wang Qing's lead, the guards beside him directly charged towards the 8th grade mystic wolf. The 8th grade mystic wolf in his hand directly raised his hand. In an instant, he raised his hand and suddenly, 2 rays of sword chi flew out from his weapon. The 2 rays of sword chi flew out and instantly arrived at the 8th grade mystic wolf's body. However, their level of the spirit profound realm was still far from that of the 8th grade mystic wolf. Furthermore, the 8th grade mystic wolf had developed basic intelligence and could judge whether a human's move would have any effect on it. Jiyu directly jumped up and quickly gathered the mystic energy in his hand. Raging Inferno. Another ball of flames flew out and hit the 8th grade mystic wolf's body. The 8th grade mystic wolf fell to the ground. It let out a low howl. The remaining guards all rushed forward. The 8th grade mystic wolf suddenly raised its head and leaped up. Its teeth directly gnawed on each of their bodies. Under the black wolf, Wang Qing kept on waving his artifact. It abruptly raised its head and bit down on one of the men's arm. The man screamed as his entire arm was ripped off. However, Jiyu did not intervene. The remaining 40-odd guards looked at the 8th grade mystic wolf in front of them with sharp gazes. They said indifferently, "Use your earth rank profound skills. Don't waste the opportunity that our brother has created for us." Everyone took a step back and stomped on the ground. A ball of flames appeared in the air, as if a 10,000 jong long spear was flying up. The 10,000 jong long spear flew in front of the 8th stage mystic wolf. With a bang, the 8th rank mystic wolf suddenly retreated and let out a low cry. Jiyu knew that this was the peak strength of this group of guards. Jiyu descended from the sky. The bejeweled weapon in her hand suddenly shot out and pierced towards the level 8 mystical beast beside her. The level 8 mystical beast merely let out a low growl before losing its life. In the final moments of its life, a green soul appeared in its body. "What? It's actually a beast soul?" Jiyu said faintly, "Wang Qing, this beast soul belongs to you." Although Wang Qing's strength was only around the 3rd level of the spirit profound realm, with the support of the beast spirit, he should be able to advance further. He walked forward and said lightly, "Many thanks, young master." He cupped his hands. He closed his eyes and began to accept the beast martial spirit. At this moment, the beast martial spirit slowly flew in front of Wang Qing. The beast martial spirit entered his body in an instant. Wang Qing's divine soul was constantly throbbing at this moment. The 3 souls were receiving a fierce impact, but the impact was too strong. Under the continuous collision, the beast martial spirit let out a cracking sound. A loud sound rang out and a golden light appeared in the air. Wang Qing, who was in front of her, merged with the beast martial spirit in front of him. Wang Qing let out a loud roar and a thin layer of the beast martial spirit appeared behind him. He heavily knocked on the ground. He let out a roar towards the sky. Roar. With a loud rumble, they suddenly raised their heads. At this moment, The mystic chi in their bodies flew out. The remaining guards knew that this was the first time he used the beast martial spirit. He needed someone to help him stabilize his cultivation. The most effective way to stabilize his cultivation was to use mystic chi. In the blink of an eye, he flew in front of Jiyu and saw a small ball of light appear in the air. Jiyu looked in front of her with a sharp gaze. With a loud rumble, Wang Qing's beast martial spirit completely exploded and slammed down heavily. The ball of flame hit the ground. After hitting the ground, Jiyu abruptly stood up and disappeared from the spot in an instant. In the blink of an eye, Jiyu appeared in front of him. She threw a punch. In the next moment, it was as if countless punches had appeared. Wang Qing, who was under the protection of the mystic beast, actually blocked all of Jiyu's punches. However, this happened because Jiyu restrained her mystic chi. Jiyu said indifferently, "All of you, go." Under Jiyu's command, the rest of the people ran forward one after another, only to see the expressions on the faces of these guards all changing. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Wang Qing. Seeing the fists coming down, Wang Qing immediately called back the beast souls and used them to block the iron fists for him. Jiyu heaved a sigh of relief. She said indifferently, "All right, the battle is over. All of you can go back first." After Jiyu gave the order, they cupped their hands and said to Jiyu, "Thank you, young master." They continued running into the depths of the forest. However, Jiyu had given them the 18 golden puppets. With them around, as long as they did not encounter any overly powerful mystic beasts, their lives would not be in danger under the protection of the puppets. Jiyu, on the other hand, fixed her gaze on the mountaintop. Such a large group of mystic beasts rioting must have something to do with the king of mystic beasts living on the mountaintop. Jiyu used the 3000 cloud strike. Ding, the host has used the 3000 cloud strike and gained one by 999 experience points. He stepped into the mountain range, only to see that there was a cloud of mist around him, shrouding the mountain range in this place. Jiyu walked a few steps left and right, only to see that there was no way to get out of this land. Jiyu used his mental strength to explore and found that there seemed to be a golden light surrounding them from the mountainside to the rooftop. In a flash, he disappeared from his original spot. After circling around for about an hour, Jiyu appeared at his original spot. Who would have thought that the bewildering fog formation would be so powerful? Logically speaking, all array formations could not be separated from the 5 elements array. Jiyu stared at the fog in the forest. Mystic skill, fragrance of 100 birds. Chapter 633. Jiyu slapped his hands on the ground. The dark force in his hands gradually entered the ground and radiated outwards along with the flowers and plants on the ground. At this moment, the flowers and trees in the forest seemed to have received Jiyu's summons. The spirits in the plants started to communicate with Jiyu. Only then did Jiyu figure out a path. The surrounding flowers bowed towards Jiyu as if they were worshipping their king. Jiyu waved his hands heavily and suddenly, the flowers and plants in the air started to move and sway. At this moment, Jiyu sensed that the flowers and plants in front of him disappeared in an instant. Jiyu was stunned and his body stiffened. The road in front of him turned into a desert. It was as if a pillow was given when he was sleepy. Jiyu's earth inheritance started to work automatically. Along with the dark force entering the ground in the air started to spread gradually. Countless little people appeared from the ground. However, each and every one of them was shriveled and extremely thin, as if they were little bloodthirsty zombies. Those little zombies ran toward Jiyu's direction. The dark force in Jiyu's hands started to circulate rapidly. Ding! The host used the Earth Sword Rain and gained one by 999 experience points. Countless pieces of soil floated in the air. At this moment, those pieces of soil gradually turned into conical shapes. With a wave of Jiyu's hands, those conical earth spikes shot out. In an instant, those little zombies were pierced by the earth spikes in Jiyu's hands and they started to wail in pain. Then, those little zombies fell to the ground one after another. Those zombies on the ground suddenly moved and stood up again in the blink of an eye. Jiyu frowned. Unexpectedly, Those zombies in front of him shook their heads and walked towards Ji-yu. Ji-yu summoned the rain of earth spikes again. Ji-yu saw a small mound at the end of the road. Ji-yu disappeared on the spot in the blink of an eye and appeared at the end of the road in the next moment. A small stone table appeared on the ground. After seeing the stone table, Ji-yu frowned. His figure flashed, and he disappeared on the spot. He slammed his palm heavily on the stone table. The golden light on the stone pillar disappeared without a trace in an instant. Ji-yu suddenly took a step back. A faint profound light appeared in his hand, but in the next moment, the profound light in his hand suddenly disappeared. Then, the road in front of him gradually turned into a road. Ji-yu used his psychic energy to explore it. At this moment, his psychic energy covered the road and there was no way out. Ji-yu took a step forward. That path had already dried up, and there was no longer any obstruction. When they arrived at the top of the mountain, they saw a brilliant lake. Countless fish were swimming in the lake. When Ji-yu saw this, he asked faintly, "What is this?" After he finished speaking, a splash suddenly appeared on the surface of the lake. Chapter 634. The entire lake was filled with splashes as a young girl jumped into the water. Ji-yu was stunned. The girl who dared to fall into the water abruptly raised her head and glanced behind her. She saw Ji-yu looking at her body. The young girl was instantly enraged as she shouted at Ji-yu, "Who are you? Why are you here?" With this fierce and angry question, the lake was filled with green ripples. It was as if a sea was rushing towards Ji-yu. The profound energy in Ji-yu's hand was suddenly released. The profound force merged with the sea in the lake. At this moment, the water in the lake gradually gathered and formed the shape of a water dragon. The water dragon heavily hit the surface of the lake. Only then did he manage to block the arrow of seawater that the young girl had unleashed. Ji-yu calmly said, "This one is Ji-yu. I saw some strange movements in the profound beast forest, so I came out to take a look. You dare to peek at this venerable one bathing, you deserve to die." After shouting this sentence, a water dragon flew out from the water. It circled around and directly arrived in front of Ji-yu. Ji-yu heavily chopped down with the warhound's great sword in his hand. Under this sword, the head of the water dragon in front of him was immediately cut off. You can actually split the water, you have some skills. But just like this, you can't escape punishment. The young girl secretly thought in her heart. At the same time, several water arrows appeared from the lake in front of her. Ji-yu could feel that these water arrows contained powerful profound force. "Since you are so aggressive, don't blame me," Ji-yu thought in his heart. At the same time, his body flashed and disappeared from his original spot. When he reappeared, he was already above the water. With the profound force of water inheritance, his profound force turned blue. This profound force merged with Ji-yu's feet. He suddenly stepped on the surface of the water and ran towards the girl. The girl did not expect Ji-yu to be so fast and so destructive. It seemed like this guy could even fuse with the water profound energy. The young girl waved her hand, and the water immediately moved, forming a long great wall. Ji-yu chopped down with her machete. The water wasn't as hard as Ji-yu had imagined. Instead, it felt soft. When she chopped down, it felt as soft as gummy candy. The rubber ball bounced back. Ji-yu abruptly retreated as he said faintly, "Mystic technique, raging flames incinerate the city." After shouting out these words, his warhound's giant sword released a ball of flame that slammed into the wall of water. Flames could even burn water. The young girl's eyes revealed a trace of fear as she asked doubtfully, "How could you possibly withstand it? Could it be that you're at the mortal profound realm?" "That's right." After shouting out these words, Ji-yu abruptly turned around. Controlling the warhound's giant sword in his hand, he heavily chopped down, cutting through the water barrier in front of him. A small cut was made. In the blink of an eye, Ji-yu disappeared on the spot and charged into the water world. He pulled the young girl into his embrace. He slapped her little butt with one hand. "You actually dared to hit this seat. The one I hit was you." After Ji-yu said this, he suddenly disappeared on the spot. In the blink of an eye, He appeared several hundred meters away. He faintly said, "If you're not convinced, come chase me." The young girl gave a cold snort. Naturally, she couldn't be taken advantage of, so she flew behind Jiyu. Ding. Host used the 3000 cloud movement. Obtained 1 by 999 experience points. He disappeared in front of her again. With one chasing and one chasing, the two of them had already run several hundred meters away. Suddenly, the young girl clutched her chest. Her body softened and she fell to the ground. Jiyu stopped and walked in front of her. "Are you all right?" "I can't leave the water." Jiyu was stunned. He grabbed the young girl and rushed back into the lake. With the nourishment of the lake, the young girl slowly opened her eyes. Jiyu said faintly, "You should be feeling better now." The young girl's face slightly reddened. "Many thanks, young master." "I'm Jiyu." "Many thanks, young master Jiyu." Jiyu indifferently said, "Why did you attack me just now?" The young girl's face turned red. She almost slapped Jiyu. Seeing her shy appearance, Jiyu noticed that he wasn't wearing anything. The storage ring in his hand flashed. Suddenly, a long red ribbon appeared. After putting on the red ribbon, the young girl immediately became dazzling. Jiyu lightly said, "You look so beautiful now." The young girl's face turned red again. Ever since she was born, her body had never been treated like this by anyone. "Thank you." Jiyu chuckled. Suddenly, two black-robed men appeared in front of him. Their Xian Qi instantly exploded to the 4th level of the human profound realm. They directly suppressed Jiyu's direction. "Young miss, we should go back. You've damaged the forest a bit too much this time. I don't want to marry that damn wolf." After shouting this, the black-robed men looked at each other. "Young miss, you're making things difficult for us. Why don't you follow us first? As for whether it's fake or not, we can discuss it later." After hearing the black-robed men's words, the young girl walked forward. She suddenly turned her head and said to Jiyu, "Give me your hand." Then she wrote a golden character on Jiyu's hand. "If I have time, I'll come out and play with you." After saying this, the young girl suddenly disappeared into the sky. Jiyu lightly waved her hand. "I hope we can meet again." Strangely, after the young girl disappeared, the golden character on Jiyu's hand also disappeared. One of the black-robed men led the young girl into a brilliant light. The remaining black-robed man didn't leave. He said lightly, "Don't move." Jiyu asked faintly, "I don't know. What advice do you have?" Hearing Jiyu's words, he said, "We don't want the human race to know about this, young miss, so what?" After saying this, a precious weapon appeared in the black-robed man's hand. He raised the weapon in his hand and said lightly to Jiyu in front of him, "Only the dead can keep secrets." Suddenly, he disappeared on the spot. In the blink of an eye, he flew in front of Jiyu and swung his sword at Jiyu. Chapter 635. Jiyu took a step back. In the next moment, he raised the Warhound greatsword in his hand and swung it down heavily. The two artifacts clashed together. Lightning exploded from the tip of the sword. "You're actually at the human profound realm, but you're only at the 1st level of the human profound realm. Not to mention whether you can live or not, you're not worthy to be friends with our Miss Jiyu frowned." The black-robed man was an expert at the 4th level of the human profound realm. He took 2 steps forward and jumped up. At this moment, the profound force in his hand was released. Profound skill, Wind Blade. So it's the wind inheritance, but your power of inheritance is too weak. Profound skill, Spring Greeting of all trees. Countless vines emerged from the ground and flew towards the black-robed man, entangling his hands and feet. The black-robed man frowned. He never expected this. He was actually so easily bound by these vines. Jiyu said indifferently, "Profound skill, Raging Inferno." After shouting this sentence, countless flames flew up and collided with the vines. The flames that were strong enough to burn everything could only slightly shake the opponent's chi shield. The raging flames burned on the chi shield. The black-robed man was interested. It's actually the power of 3 levels of inheritance. This is extremely rare in our deep-sea clan. However, your power of inheritance ends today. Profound skill, roar of ice. What? It's actually the ice inheritance. The ice inheritance could also control the power of water. At this moment, the two profound forces intersected and rushed towards the black-robed man, colliding with the chi shield. Originally, it was impossible for the chi shield to be frozen. Because of Ji Yu's strength, he directly froze the power of ice with a heavy blow of his sword. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared on the spot. At this moment, his protective aura shield was frozen by the power of the inheritance of ice and snow. He slowly opened his mouth and said, "Kid, I admit that you have some strength." The other party raised the prized artifact in his hand and rushed forward. He charged towards Ji Yu and swung his sword heavily towards Ji Yu. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky. The black-cloaked man retreated. The power of the lightning struck the ground and exploded into the ground. In an instant, the flat ground in front of him caved in. He suddenly took 2 steps back, and a few more lightning bolts fell from the sky. He hurriedly retreated. Boom! 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 3 lightning bolts struck down. At this moment, a few wisps of black smoke slowly floated out. Ji Yu said faintly, "Metal inheritance." After saying this, countless pieces of gold appeared in the air. At this moment, those pieces of gold gradually sealed the black-robed man, directly trapping him in the gold prison. Icicles, flames, and earth spikes flew towards the black-robed man. The black-robed man frowned and kept running around in the same place. He held the prized artifact in his hand and swung it out, blocking all of Ji Yu's mystical skills. Ji Yu merged into the ground. His entire body merged into the ground. In the next moment, he flew out of the ground. Ji Yu was simply too proficient in using mystical skills. Ji Yu's sword danced as he swung it. The heavy sword fell on the black-robed man's body. After being hit by Ji Yu's sword, a bloody wound appeared on the black-robed man's mystical body. He said faintly, "Kid, how dare you hurt me?" Ji Yu said faintly, "You want to kill me, why can't I hurt you?" After hearing this, Ji Yu suddenly flew 2 steps forward and swung his sword down heavily. The black-robed man let out a furious roar. Ji Yu abruptly withdrew from the spot, and the black-robed man took 2 steps forward, swaying from side to side. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from the spot. He said faintly, "I let you escape." After saying this, Ji Yu began to worry about his guards. He disappeared from the spot. In the next moment, he flew out and came to a place not far away. He said faintly, "Guards." After roaring this sentence, his voice spread hundreds of miles away. After hearing this, he immediately stood up at this moment. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Ji Yu. Ji Yu clapped his hands. Countless guards heard Ji Yu's shout and returned one after another. They knelt in front of Ji Yu. "Greetings, young master." After shouting this sentence, Ji Yu said faintly, "How are the results of your cultivation?" After hearing Ji Yu's question, they took out a storage ring from their sleeves. After the storage ring flashed with light, over 100 Xian beast corpses appeared in front of them. "You can deal with these mystical beasts yourselves. But in the future, you can only choose 7th grade mystical beasts. That won't do. In the future, you can choose an 8th grade mystical beast." After saying this, Ji Yu disappeared from the spot. The remaining guards followed Ji Yu and followed behind Ji Yu. Ji Yu was neither fast nor slow. It seemed that she was deliberately waiting for them. They gradually approached her. Ji Yu landed on the ground. After the young woman left, the dark beasts obediently returned to the forest once more. Only then did the profoundness of the northern territory relax, and they started to talk about the beast tide that had occurred in the southern territory. The beast tide directly swallowed the city wall. Later on, a mysterious young man appeared and calmed the matter down. Ji Yu knew that in the future, if the guards wanted to enter the deep forest of mystical beasts, there would be a certain area. As long as there was an area, their danger would be greatly reduced. Ji Yu said faintly, "In the future, you can devote yourselves to training. But for now, there is one more thing to do." Longxian Avenue was the leading commercial street in Tianjin City. Naturally, many gangs had already divided this street. If they wanted to do business here, They had to hand over a certain amount of mystical stones. Jiyu led more than 50 people to Longxian Avenue. Everyone instantly became vigilant. Jiyu said faintly, "We want the 3rd East Street." "Yes, young master," they said at the same time. Jiyu waved her hand heavily. Chapter 636. Apart from Wang Qing and the others who stayed by Jiyu's side, the rest of the guards were divided into 3 groups. They came to the middle of the street and said, "From today onwards, this place will belong to the dragon-slaying gang." Hearing this, one of the fat merchants laughed out loud. "Ha ha ha, don't blame me for being blunt. Your dragon-slaying gang should disband as soon as possible." They said at the same time, "You may not know, but we have a gang called the Dragon Gang here. Offending them won't end well." "Yes, yes." The few of them started talking at once. The leader of the guards said slowly, "I'm here to inform you, not to discuss." After he finished speaking, he said indifferently, "Then you're here to cause trouble." Cultivators didn't care about these mortals, let alone the shops that their young master wanted to take over. The leader of the guards said indifferently, "Go." At this moment, the rest of the people stepped forward at the same time and took out their treasured weapons. They were all ordinary people. At the same time, they flashed forward and flew over. At the same time, a firework exploded in the air. They flew out of the place where the Dragon Gang gathered, where they lived all year round. They ran on the ground. In an instant, they ran out. After flying out, they landed on the ground, turned around, and threw out the treasured weapons in their hands. He asked, "Who are you?" One of the cultivators turned around and said indifferently, "We're from the dragon-slaying gang." "How dare you? You're obviously targeting us. Go." After shouting these words, they ran out one after another. They held treasured weapons in their hands and directly threw them at Jiyu's guards. However, the chi shields on their bodies blocked them. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from their original spot, and one after another, they used their own specialized profound skill, and hit their bodies with the profound skill. After seeing this attack, they abruptly stood up, took 2 steps back, and quickly raised their hands. Boom! There was a loud sound. The scene fell into layers of thick fog. At this moment, the thick fog in the air gradually dispersed. At this moment, he slowly opened his mouth and said, "How can there be a good ending for offending our dragon gang? We are all experts at the 7th level of the spirit profound realm." After saying this, Li Yundong's expression changed. Jiyu said calmly, "You'll find out later." After the thick fog dispersed, all of the dragon gang's members were lying on the ground. The rest of them were holding their treasured weapons. They were ecstatic. If this had happened in the past, they would have been wiped out long ago when facing their opponents. How could there still be such bright days? They had actually defeated this group of experts at the 7th level of the Spirit Profound Realm with their strength at the 3rd level of the Spirit Profound Realm. Jiyu said faintly, "Not bad. You guys are very powerful." After saying this, Jiyu waved her hand and the people in front of her stepped back. Jiyu said faintly, "From today onwards, this place will be our territory. Is there a problem?" After hearing this, the rest of the people knelt on the ground and said to Jiyu faintly, "We are willing to submit." Jiyu nodded and then glanced at Wang Qing. Wang Qing cupped his hands and led them away. This group of people would fall into hell tomorrow. The Dragon Gang's members waited in the restaurant for a long time, but they didn't see the people they sent out return. They looked at each other and suddenly became anxious. When Master Long of the Dragon Gang returned to the restaurant, everyone stood up with a swoosh. One of them said faintly, "What happened?" After hearing this, they looked at each other and one of them understood. He took a step forward and cupped his hands and said, "Master Long, we just sent out a team, but they didn't return." After saying this, the hearts of the people around him trembled again. They didn't know how Master Long would react later. Suddenly, Master Long became furious. He heavily slapped with his palm. After this palm fell, that person flew out and vomited blood from his mouth. "Who is it? How dare they come to our venue and make trouble?" One of the Xian cultivators replied, "It's said to be a gang called the Dragon Slaying Gang." Dragon Slaying Gang? These 3 words directly pierced Master Long's heart. This was simply outrageous. They actually dared to provoke him like this. He said faintly, outrageous. Come with me. Among the 3 gangs, the Dragon Gang was the weakest. Normally, they would be very nervous to maintain their status. They stood up, turned around, and walked straight out of the door. 2 of them looked at each other. They said faintly, brothers, what should we do now? After saying this, Master Long picked up the 6th grade treasure in front of him and said, it's useless to say more. Brothers, come with me. They led the group of people to the commercial street. One of them said, this is outrageous. How could such a thing happen? Master Long, all of our people are gone. Killing is just a matter of time. What exactly did they go through? Master Long took a step forward and said, call your boss out. Ji-yu slowly walked out and said faintly, it's me. When he saw Ji-yu, Elder Long was struck by a sense of familiarity. He was reminded of the night when he was outside the haunted house, and his eyes widened. It's you. He had wanted to take revenge for a long time. He was a peak 9th level spirit profound realm expert. Although his force was the weakest, in terms of profound strength, he was the strongest. He said faintly, kid, we didn't have many people with us that day. In the world of Shen cultivators, we don't judge everything based on cultivation alone. Do you see? These people beside me are all at the 7th level of the spirit profound realm. Even if you're at the mortal profound realm, what can you do? After saying this, Ji-yu smiled faintly and said, if you don't believe me, you can give it a try. Master Long was almost angered to the point of vomiting blood by Ji-yu's words. Kill him for me. Ji-yu glanced at Wang Qing in front of her and said faintly, this is a test. If you win, each of you will get a 6th grade profound core. If you lose, don't go back. Chapter 637. A 6th grade elixir was a choice between life and death. Needless to say, they all knew how to choose. The guards of the dragon slaying gang took out their weapons one after another. She glared at the members of the dragon slaying gang. The members of the dragon slaying gang suddenly panicked. They took a step forward one after another. In an instant, the dark force in the air merged into Ji-yu's hand. Ji-yu slapped out her palm heavily. Along with a loud bang, there was a loud rumble. In an instant, the wind and clouds changed dramatically. The members of the dragon slaying gang had no chance of escaping. The members of the dragon slaying gang rushed into the crowd. With their weapons in hand, they charged toward the people in the crowd. All of a sudden, multicolored Shen Qi began to dance in the air. They bombarded the stone wall. The pieces of earth that kept falling off the stone wall would fly back into the stone wall. Ji-yu said indifferently, kill them. A trace of fear appeared in the eyes of the dragon slaying gang's guards. They retreated madly toward the back. Suddenly, a clap of thunder sounded in the sky, and the lightning continued to strike the stone city. Thunderous booms could be heard one after another. The guards of the dragon slaying gang were scared out of their wits. They ran toward the outside and said indifferently, please, let us go. Humph, you are a disgrace to the dragon slaying gang. Master Long said with some displeasure. He jumped down from the stone wall. He saw 2 more guards from the dragon slaying gang charging at him. He kicked them, and a thunderous sound was heard. Suddenly, the sky was filled with thunderous light. A few thunderbolts fell in front of the crowd. The protective chi shields of the 2 dragon slaying gang guards were instantly shattered. They fell to the ground one after another. They did not even have the strength to speak. They weakly reached out their hands. It was as if they were begging the savior in front of them to save them. The 2 of them snorted. They raised the weapons in their hands and ran toward Ji-yu. Ji-yu smiled faintly. Whetstones, you should have the awareness of a whetstone. He swung the warhound sword. The few people in front of him flew backward and fell heavily to the ground. They looked at Ji-yu with fear in their eyes. They crawled up from the ground. Ji-yu said indifferently, Master Long, it's our turn now. Brat, I started cultivating when I was 5 years old. How could I lose to a brat like you? I was called a genius since I was young. As a genius, I will not allow myself to lose to anyone. Unfortunately, that is not the case for me now. He said indifferently, if I die in your hands, I'd be willing. Master Long roared loudly, the clothes on his body immediately burst open, and his entire body was filled with muscles. His profound skill was the thunder wind fox that had fused with the thunder inheritance. Mystic skill, lightning fox. A fox-like thunder beast charged in Ji-Yu's direction. Ji-Yu said indifferently, then, let me see your strength. Ding, host used 3000 cloud movement. Obtained 1 by 999 experience points. His feet flashed. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from his original spot. In the next moment, he appeared behind Master Long. The power of lightning in his hand appeared in front of Ji-Yu. Ji-Yu slowly raised his hand. The lightning struck down heavily in Ji-Yu's direction. From the corner of Ji-Yu's eyes, he saw Lei Hu's attack descending upon him. Instantly, he disappeared from where he was standing. The next moment, he reappeared behind Master Long with the Warhound's great sword in his hand. There was a flash of silver light. With a catcher sound, the person in front of him was cut in half. Ji-Yu said indifferently, Master Long, your mission is over. He put away the Warhound sword. The remaining members of the Dragon Gang revealed a trace of fear in their eyes. Ji-Yu said indifferently, clean up this place. Don't make things difficult for the other merchants. The merchants who looked down on the Dragon Gang suddenly had ugly expressions on their faces. However, since they were able to become merchants, they had trained their faces for many years. Everyone walked up to Ji-Yu with a smile on their faces and said, the Dragon Gang is indeed the hero of our people. We've been sick of these Dragon Gang members for a long time. They looked at each other and said, yes, yes, yes. Yes, that's right. We think so too. Ji-Yu smiled faintly, if that's the case, our transaction is successful. Yes, yes. Every one of them had a smile on their face. Ji-Yu made a sound of acknowledgement. He said indifferently, that's good. Every merchant sent the black stones that were supposed to be given to the Dragon Gang to Ji-Yu's residence. When the other 3 merchants heard the news, they all panicked. Everyone started to panic. Although the Dragon Gang was considered weak, the gang leader was the one with the highest Shen energy. This was also the basic reason why a small gang like the Dragon Gang had not disappeared until now. They said, there is no benefit for us to go against Ji-Yu's Dragon Gang. As the saying goes, if we can't beat them, we might as well join them. When those words came out, everyone felt that it made sense. They looked at each other. They slowly took a step forward. Since they had made the decision, they decided to carry it out immediately. They turned around and ordered their servants to buy the necessary items. Then, they went to Ji-Yu's residence. He said indifferently, is Ji Gongzi here? Ji-Yu walked out of the residence. When they saw Ji-Yu, they immediately became excited. They bent down and cupped their hands to Ji-Yu, saying, greetings, young Master Ji-Yu. Ji-Yu said indifferently, aren't they the leaders of the 3 major gangs? Greetings, leaders. The 3 of them looked at each other. Fortunately, Ji-Yu was not as arrogant as they thought. They made a decision in an instant. They cupped their hands and said, greetings, Ji Gongzi. Today, we are here to recruit everyone into the Dragon Gang. Aren't you 3 going to consider it? They looked at each other and giggled. How could they refuse to say no? They cupped their hands and said, we have decided. Even if we hit the wall, we will not turn back. Ji-Yu said indifferently, Wang Qing. Wang Qing walked out of the backyard and cupped his hands. Young master. Take them away. Yes. Chapter 638. After Ji-Yu asked them to leave, she began to ponder. Until now, there were no clues about the frozen land. It was time to take a look. His figure flashed and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in Heavenly Realm City's Heavenly Realm Academy. He had already received the news. Although Heavenly Realm Academy didn't manage the affairs of the human world, every time humans were in danger, these cultivators would move out. Ji-Yu said indifferently, hello, I'm here to study. A guard walked out from inside and said with disdain, Sorry, our Heavenly Realm Academy only recruits on a fixed date every year. Now that the recruitment day has passed, please go back first. I just want to enter your library to take a look. The guard thought to himself, is this brat here to cause trouble? If you don't leave, don't blame us for being impolite. A blue bird appeared in his hand. The blue bird flew into the air and suddenly, a mysterious light that looked like fireworks appeared in the air. After seeing the mysterious light, the surrounding experts who had been guarding opened their eyes. Their figures flashed and they rushed out, running directly in the direction of Heavenly Realm Academy. They landed in front of Gu one after another. Young master, I believe the guard has already told you clearly. Please go back. Gu said indifferently, what if I don't leave? One of the yellow-robed youths said disdainfully, if you don't leave, then don't blame us for being impolite. In an instant, he rushed out like a leopard. It was also a Shen Beast Soul skill fusion. The people behind him laughed disdainfully. This brat came to cause trouble, but he didn't even ask where we are. That's right. How can we underestimate the strength of our guards? Just our 10th junior brother is already at the peak of the 9th level of the Spirit Profound Realm. Coupled with the Shen Beast Soul skill fusion, even if you are a human Profound Realm expert, you will be beaten to a pulp. A few people said with satisfaction, this brat is simply courting death. After saying this, their eyes suddenly lit up because the leopard that was flying towards Gu just now was caught by Gu by the arm and slammed heavily onto the ground. Suddenly, the leopard landed on the ground and let out a low roar, as if it was an injured wild leopard. Gu said lightly, can I go in now? Seeing Gu's provocative look, how could the remaining pride of the academy allow Gu to enter so easily? Kid, you have some skills, but there are many people with skills here. If you don't want to die, get the hell out of here. But they all ignored Gu's strength. Gu's warhound's great sword suddenly appeared in his hand and he heavily slashed down. Instantly the warhound's giant sword released a profound light. He fell heavily on the ground, and a loud rumbling sound rang out. The ground in front of him suddenly split apart, and flames engulfed him directly. Gu said lightly, you guys come over. After saying this, they looked at each other. This brat was simply too much of a bully. If they didn't teach him a lesson here, they were afraid that this brat would be bullied by others in the future. Thinking of this, they all moved forward at the same time and arrived in front of Gu. They all raised the artifacts in their hands at the same time. Multicolored profound light suddenly attacked Gu's direction. Gu's feet flashed. Ding, the host used the 3000 clouds movement. Obtained 1 by 999 experience points. Following the system's notification, Gu already arrived behind each of them. The 3000 clouds movement was extremely terrifying. They only saw Gu face their backs and each of them sent a punch down. Even with the chi aura protecting their bodies, under Gu's heavy attack, they all spat out blood. The chi aura protecting their bodies had already disappeared. Gu said lightly, can I go in now? Even if we die, we will guard the academy's entrance. Gu suddenly felt a little speechless. Big brothers, from the beginning to the end, I never said that I would kill you. What are you thinking? He thought of this in his heart and instantly disappeared. However, the academy's entrance was actually protected by a large array. Even if Gu's movement technique was nimble, he still couldn't enter at this moment. In the deadlock, an old man suddenly walked out from inside. The old man stroked the beard on his chin. You're here. Gu looked at the old man and asked lightly, excuse me sir, do we know each other? The old man immediately laughed out loud. Of course we don't know each other, but I know that you're coming. What you want to know is a place that doesn't exist in this world. Gu nodded. The old man then said to the students of the academy, you can leave now. But principal. There was a gleam in the old man's eyes. Seeing this, the people around him all left. Gu followed them into the room. He said lightly, how did you know me, sir? Hearing Gu's question, the old man laughed out loud. Temple Master, I sensed the Ice Queen's awakening a long time ago. Who would have thought that the old man, who had a special status in Northern Border City, was the guardian of the Ice Powder Temple? The old man knelt on the ground and said to Gu, Greetings, Grand Elder. Ji didn't feel embarrassed at all. He just waved a hand and said, "Get up." With Ji's permission, the old man rose to his feet. I'm ashamed to say this, but 100 years ago, an organization called the Union of 10,000 Immortals launched a sneak attack on our temple and sealed it with their dark energy. We're still looking for the temple even now. Ji heard what I said. How could I let it happen? He frowned and asked flatly, "Are you serious?" "Of course," the old man said humbly. Ji snorted. "Since that's the case, no one can offend me." Ji, you don't have to return the favor. The old man was pleased to see that his Grand Elder was so supportive. I wonder what kind of cultivation method you've mastered, Grand Elder. The only thing he was worried about was Ji's strength. After all, their future depended on Ji. Ji said flatly, "Don't worry." Chapter 639. He slowly opened his hand, only to see a ray of light appear on the spot. This ray of light contained the 5 attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Although Ji was now an expert of the human profound realm, and even with the help of the sky-splitting sword, he had to raise each attribute's Shen energy to the second layer of the human profound realm by himself before he could hope to advance to the second layer of the human profound realm. However, he wasn't afraid, because his improvement of 1 layer of Shen energy was equivalent to the improvement of 4 layers of Shen energy. Seeing that his great elder was so powerful, even the Divine Hall Elder couldn't help but feel happy. He didn't know how long it had been since he last felt this way. He said faintly, "According to the scroll we have, the land of ice powder has disappeared for thousands of years. We were ambushed 100 years ago and fell out of the space, so we don't have a way to go back." Ji said faintly, "I know. If the Union of 10,000 Immortals could enter the frozen palace, they must have a way to find it." The guardians of the evolving palace in the land of ice powder had all used hibernation to replace the reduction of their lifespan. Ji opened the scroll that the elder had just handed to her. She only saw that the scroll recorded why their divine hall disappeared and why it reappeared. Wasn't the Cries of Immortals sect one of the sects of the Union of 10,000 Immortals that her unlucky son had taken a fancy to? Ji called Wang Qing and asked him to find the people of the Gold City sect. When he had just arrived at Heavenly City, this group of people had unfortunately blocked Ji's entrance, so they had been blacklisted by Ji. Only now did she remember them. It just so happened that she could use them to find the way back. Thinking of this, they all took a step forward, and the light in front of them flourished. Wang Qing quickly found a way to communicate with the brothers of the Dragon Slayer gang outside through the integration of mind and earth. When they heard that the sect leader was looking for someone, they immediately began to search excitedly. The group of people of the Gold City were still drinking when the door was suddenly surrounded by a group of people. Their gazes shifted to the outside. "Who are you? How dare you come here and cause trouble?" A member of the dragon slaying gang pulled up his black robe. A long sword pierced through a picture of a giant dragon. This was the symbol that Ji had made for the dragon slaying gang. With this symbol, as long as a merchant saw him, they would give him some face. Now that the dragon slaying gang had swallowed up 3 other big gangs, how could they not be afraid? The face of the waiter, who had just stepped out to stop the crowd, immediately turned green. He retreated with a smile on his face. "I'm sorry, I was too reckless just now. I didn't see clearly that it was you, my lord." Everyone snorted and walked in. The 2 guards from the dragon-slaying gang slammed their swords on the table and said, "Our boss wants to see you. Come with us." Each and every one of the Gold City's disciples were the cream of the crop. Who knew how arrogant they were? Now, someone actually dared to provoke them and even put a sword in front of them. This was simply courting death. They glared angrily at the people in front of them. "Who are you?" The Gold City's disciples had already put their hands into their storage rings. If they did anything inappropriate later, they would go berserk. They would draw their swords and kill all the people in front of them who didn't know what was good for them. One of the dragon-slaying gang members said, "Don't worry so much. Just come back with us." "How dare you?" The Gold City's eldest senior brother kicked the table. The table, which was wrapped in Shen Qi, suddenly flew up and directly flew toward the Gold City's disciples. The dragon-slaying gang members didn't give up. After a period of life-and-death training, they all drew their treasured weapons. Holding the treasured weapons in their hands, they slashed down heavily with their swords. With a crisp cracking sound, the table in front of him suddenly broke into pieces. The table fell to the ground. Everyone's eyes were on them. The dragon-slaying gang members said, "Is this all you ancient Shen cultivators have? You're so weak." Hearing this ridicule, everyone became agitated. They actually dared to say that they were weak. This was simply a form of humiliation. After thinking about this, they all took a step forward. At this moment, the Shen Qi in their hands suddenly became huge. That huge Shen Qi smashed in the direction of the crowd. Seeing that powerful Shen Qi smashing down, the people immediately stood up. The person beside him immediately left and opened his hands towards the sky. The table in the air suddenly floated up. The Gold City's eldest senior brother looked over and all the tables flew toward the dragon-slaying gang members. However, the members of the dragon-slaying gang took out their own treasures and broke through the Qi shield. All the onlookers knew that they couldn't stay here any longer. Staying here was no different from courting death. They looked at each other and ran out of the door in panic. In an instant, there was space for the two groups of people. "How can we ancient Shen cultivators lose to you wandering Shen cultivators?" His confidence had been crushed by Jiyu last time. It was equivalent to 10,000 critical hits. Now, he was going to be crushed by these people again. How could he admit it? He roared angrily and all the hair on his body stood up. A ball of Shen Qi quickly gathered in his mouth. One of them laughed and said, "Left Guardian, did you see that? This person has bad breath." "Bad breath, is it? I'll let you have a taste of my bad breath. Let's see how powerful it is." After he shouted those words, the mysterious light immediately flew towards the members of the dragon-slaying gang. They all raised the treasured weapons in their hands. A heavy sword slashed down. The Shen Qi was directly cut in half. The rest of the people from Jin City looked at each other in dismay. How could there be such a terrifying Shen energy? This was simply too inconceivable. They began to imagine in their hearts. Wang Qing and Ji Yu described this scene. Ji Yu said indifferently, "It's time for the world to see how these arrogant people of the ancient Shen cultivators are doing now." Bang, bang, bang. 3 crisp sounds were heard. Those arrogant Gold City members fell to the ground one after another. Chapter 640. Ji Yu suddenly widened her eyes and said faintly, "Gold City can't beat them, so they've asked for help. You should go and help them." Wang Qing cupped his fists and said faintly, "If." After saying that, he instantly disappeared. Ji Yu also imparted the 3,000 clouds movement to him. Ji Yu was not a petty person, especially when it came to her subordinates. Wang Qing used the 3,000 clouds movement and appeared in front of the tavern in an instant. The Gold City elder opened his eyes. He sensed that his disciple's protective Qi aura had been shattered. If he, as the master, did not do anything, wouldn't he be ridiculed by the crowd? When he thought of this, he snorted coldly. Who was it that dared to disregard this old man? After thinking of this, he snorted coldly and disappeared on the spot. In the next moment, he appeared in the sky and said faintly, "Who hurt my disciple?" His voice was incomparably strong. The surrounding people suddenly felt an intense pain in their ears and they all covered their ears. Only the people from the dragon-slaying gang still stubbornly took a step forward. They did not seem to be afraid of him at all. The corner of his mouth revealed a trace of a smile. He did not expect that this group of children would actually have such courage. The Gold City elder said faintly, "Children, I see that your talents are not bad. Why don't you follow me back to the Gold City to cultivate? Our resources are far from what you have here." Wang Qing took a step forward first. "No need. This old man is not afraid to tell you the truth. A month ago, I was only a small 3rd-level spirit profound realm cultivator." What? The elder of the Jincheng sect couldn't believe it. He wondered if he had lived for too long, So he had misheard. Say that again. We were all at the 9th level of the Spirit Profound Realm. A month ago, we were all at the 3rd level of the Spirit Profound Realm. No wonder this group of people dared to not give him face. It turned out that they had such confidence. But even so, what could they do? He snorted coldly in his heart. No matter how powerful you are, I will definitely not give you the chance to step out of this door. After thinking about this, he disappeared in a flash. After a moment, he appeared in front of Jiyu and said indifferently, "Kid, I have to admit that you are very strong. Even so, you can't ignore this old man." Wang Qing said indifferently, "Brothers, the sect leader has ordered us to either bring them back or stay here by ourselves." Everyone only had the power they had today because they listened to Jiyu. In their hearts, they simply worshipped Jiyu as if she was a deity. They all knelt on the ground and said heavily, "We have no regret." The old man coldly snorted. He had never been looked down upon like this before. He raised his palm heavily, but before his palm could land, the people in front of him suddenly disappeared, occupying the positions of the 18 mansions. They all raised their hands. A thundercloud appeared in the sky. The leader shouted loudly, "Rise." Along with this sentence, an auspicious cloud appeared in the sky. Wang Qing said indifferently, "Rise." After Wang Qing said this, the thundercloud in front of them suddenly pounced in Jiyu's direction. The thundercloud arrived in front of everyone in an instant. It was like a prison, sealing off all the old man's escape routes. When the old man saw this scene, his heart suddenly trembled. This group of kids actually had such strong power. They could completely lock this old man in here. But so what? It was just barely done by gathering everyone's Xian energy. Watch this old man destroy your move. The old man suddenly shouted in his heart, "Xian skill, Netherworld Ghost Wind." Suddenly, a strong wind blew around them, as if there were countless thick black fog escaping from the old man's hand. He said indifferently to Wang Qing and the rest, "Kid, you are really too arrogant." After shouting this sentence, the black fog came in front of him. As he pointed with his finger, the black fog instantly surrounded Wang Qing. Wang Qing took a step forward, holding a treasure weapon in his hand, and slashed down heavily. Along with a crisp cracking sound, the black fog in front of them shattered. Wang Qing smiled coldly, "Brothers, let's attack together. Capture him and bring him back to see the sect leader." When the old man saw the menacing crowd, he immediately panicked. He took 2 steps back and was accidentally hit by the lightning beam behind him. His entire back was charred black. Preposterous, preposterous, as an elder of the Gold City, he was humiliated to such an extent today. The Xian Qi in his body instantly rushed towards his dantian. "Oh no, he is going to self-destruct." Wang Qing shouted anxiously. However, the members of the dragon slaying gang were already prepared. Before he could self-detonate, they all rushed forward and pinned him to the ground. They said indifferently, "You think you can escape from our hands with just your strength?" Wang Qing was still a little worried, so he hit the old man's dantian with the treasure weapon in his hand. A crisp sound came from the old man's dantian. All the Xian energy in the old man's dantian was released, and the old man's dantian was also extinguished by Wang Qing. They escorted the people of the Jincheng sect to Jiyu. When he saw them, the dean of the Northern Region Academy, who was also one of the guardians of the Temple of Evolution, jumped up in excitement. "It's you bastards who destroyed our frozen land." When the first elder saw the dean, his heart beat faster. There were still people who survived their sneak attack 100 years ago. He immediately panicked. If the other members of the Union of 10,000 Immortals knew that they had fallen into the hands of the people in the frozen land, it was inevitable that they would wipe out the entire Gold City faction in order to keep it a secret. The more he thought about it, the more flustered he became. Jiyu said indifferently, "Tell me, how did you enter the frozen land's boundary?" Although Jiyu's voice was not loud, it was infused with Jiyu's mental strength. It was like a secret Buddhist chant that impacted the Gold City elder's heart. Chapter 641. Originally, Elder Jin Cheng was confident that he could withstand the impact of this spiritual force, but today was different. This was because the impact directly collided with Elder Jin Cheng's soul. In addition, his Xian Qi had long been abolished by Wang Qing. He suddenly panicked and said lightly, "Actually, this matter has nothing to do with me. We also followed the union of 10,000 immortals." Union of 10,000 immortals? Who is the one who made the decision? Ji Yu's question was still so indifferent, which made him very uncomfortable. Under this pressure, Elder Jin Cheng slowly opened his mouth. I said, it's the Sheng Sheng sect. It's them. Ji Yu grunted and said lightly, this Sheng Sheng sect seems to be the guy who took a fancy to the Shi family's child, right? After hearing Ji Yu's question, Tang Mingyuan, who had been pretending to be dead, said, isn't it them? Ji Yu grunted and said lightly, in that case, let's destroy them. Although the great elder was pressed to the ground at this moment, when he heard Ji Yu's words, a huge wave of shock suddenly rose in his heart. This kid really looked down on this so-called immortal sect too much. They were not the trash of the mortal world. What they passed down were the cultivation methods and mystic skills passed down by the ancient great powers. He said anxiously, I'll tell you the address. Can you not take me there? Let me go back to the Jin Cheng sect. I promise, I will never say anything about this matter. Everyone rolled their eyes at him, as if they were looking at him with a look of see if we believe you or not. I'll let you go. Suddenly, Ji Yu took out a black pill from her body and stuffed it into his mouth. What is this? Tang Mingyuan suddenly laughed and said, well, this pill is called the Can't Lie Happy pill. As long as you eat this pill, no matter how powerful you are, as long as you lie to us or are not honest to the oath taker, this pill will take your life. What? Doesn't that mean that it's even more powerful than the Golden Life pill from Jin City? Of course. Our Gu Jigong's pills can be said to be a must-have medicine for murder and arson. No matter if you are being bullied, or if you have something that needs to be kept a secret, or if you want to kill your entire family, all of them will be taken care of in one bottle. After saying that, Tang Mingyuan smiled faintly and bowed politely. Ji Yu smiled faintly. Brother Tang, have you been to the Baozu pavilion so much that you've learned the words of those auctioneers? Tang Mingyuan waved his fan. Keep a low profile. Remember to keep a low profile. He laughed out loud. Elder Jin Cheng panicked in his heart. He never thought that he would be humiliated like this when he was already more than 300 years old. He simply wanted to find a hole to jump in and die. He said indifferently, that's good too. At least we can go back alive. Let me tell you something. After you leave northern border city, you will arrive at the most barren Kala desert in the northern region. There is a spring in the middle of the Kala desert, and that is the boundary of the 10,000 Immortal Sect Alliance. All the mountain gates can only be entered by passing through the boundary. After saying that, he slowly closed his eyes and said faintly, this token will tell you how to pass through the boundary. He handed the token to Ji Yu and the others. Then, he walked out in a daze. Ji Yu said to Wang Qing, you have all made great progress this month. But in the future, you will have to be independent first. Wang Qing became anxious when he heard that. Sect Master, are you saying that you don't want us anymore? Ji Yu smiled faintly. Who said that? After hearing Ji Yu's words, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. However, they wondered what was in the Kala desert since it was so difficult to open the gate of Jin City. Seeing that their sect master was determined to go, Wang Qing and the others behind him knelt on the ground one after another. Sect master, please take us with you. Ji Yu said indifferently, stay here and cultivate. Don't waste your time. After that, he glanced at Tang Mingyuan and cupped his hands. Brother Tang, the road ahead is very dangerous. You'd better stay here and help me look after the dragon-slaying gang. To his surprise, Tang Mingyuan patted his chest. Brother, what are you saying? Am I, Tang Mingyuan, such a useless person? He said indifferently, if you want to go, you can go with me. Ji Yu didn't even want to bring Xiao Jiyu along, much less him. He said calmly, don't talk about it anymore. If we are brothers, you should stay here. Tang Mingyuan knew that he couldn't win against Ji Yu, so he could only smile. Be careful, brother. After saying that, Ji glanced at the dean beside him. "Dean, please stay here and wait for me to come back." Ever since the dean was seriously injured 100 years ago, his strength had been greatly reduced. It was already very difficult for him to suppress the people in the academy. If he went with Ji, he would become a burden. He sighed and said indifferently, "All right, in that case, we'll do as you say." After saying that, he got up and left. Ji walked out and returned to the mansion. The butler walked up and whispered something in Ji's ear. Ji laughed in annoyance. It seemed that he had neglected these two people. He walked to the passage and saw the girl standing up nervously. She was holding the treasure Ji gave her and facing Ji. "Who are you? We haven't seen each other for a few days, and you've forgotten me." "It's you." The girl jumped excitedly. Previously, they had pretended to be ghosts to escape from the pursuit of humans. However, there was a kind person like Ji. She excitedly jumped into Ji's arms. She said excitedly, "You're back." Seeing her so excited, Ji patted her back and comforted her. "All right, let's go." After Ji said that, she eagerly followed behind Ji and returned to Ji. Ji said indifferently, "Will they come to kill us?" Ji's heart ached when he heard that. He said indifferently, "Don't worry. From today onwards, no one will come to kill you." It wasn't easy for the mother and daughter to cultivate from Shen beasts to humans. He said indifferently, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." The cat girl buried her head deeply in Ji's arms. Chapter 642. The next day, a bright moon appeared in the sky. The surrounding flowers and trees gradually changed, becoming incomparably bright and green. Many people walked out and said indifferently, "How can there be such bright and green flowers?" After sighing with emotion, many people playing gongs and drums appeared on the street. They all came to the street and hit the gongs. Dang, dang, dang. Suddenly, everyone walked out to see such a miracle. He looked up and said indifferently, "This is simply a miracle. How can such a thing happen?" These flowers and plants were not ordinary. They were immortal herbs that could bear fruit. Looking at these flowers and plants with soul power, the sky suddenly changed. One of the members of the dragon-slaying gang shouted, "The Holy Maiden is here. The Holy Maiden is here." A few passers-by took his hand and asked in low voices, "What is the Holy Maiden?" "You may not know, but the Holy Maiden is the leader of the dragon-slaying gang. We invited her from the Shrine of Ice. She is very noble. Wherever the Holy Maiden goes, celestial phenomena will appear. Most importantly, I will only tell you, but don't tell anyone else. This Holy Maiden is a combination of a human and a Shen beast." What combination of a human and a Shen beast? If those Shen cultivators found out, wouldn't they fall into a frenzy? There was a hint of surprise in their eyes. But this Shrine of Ice was a sacred sect recognized by the country. How could they have the guts to act so rashly? Everyone was gathered in the middle of the square. "Where is the Holy Maiden? We want to see her. I'm curious to see what a monster that is a combination of a Shen beast and a human looks like." Just as they were talking, a voice rang out. Countless petals floated down from the sky and landed on the ground. The fragrance of the flowers drifted in the air. Everyone was immersed in it. Like a fairy, the cat girl descended from the sky. Who would have thought that this cat girl was just hiding in Ji's residence a few days ago, pretending to be a female ghost? Ji said indifferently, "Welcome, Holy Maiden." Everyone knelt on the ground. Ji nodded her head in satisfaction. In front of a god, no matter how strong a profound practitioner was, they would always hold a trace of reverence in their heart. Not to mention these mortals. What Ji wanted to do was to gather all of their faith and become the god of this place. Ji said indifferently, "From today onwards, the Saintess will spread the faith of the icebound shrine in Skyrealm City. She has the magical power to save lives." What? Even the dead could be brought back to life? Don't joke around, this is simply a huge lie. Ji didn't say anything. The two old men supported each other as they walked forward. One of the old men was staggering and looked like he didn't have long to live. The cat girl, wearing a long dress, walked in front of the old man. With a heavy wave of his hand, a green light flashed in his hand, and a small herb appeared. After the old man ate the herb, his eyes lit up. As if he had regained his vitality, he jumped and shouted, "That's great, I'm fine, I'm fine. I feel like I've returned to my youth." A few more patients walked forward, and as expected, they were all saved by the cat girl one by one. When Ji-yu saw that everyone was looking at her in a frenzy, she knew in her heart that they had won this time. Ji-yu's figure suddenly flashed and disappeared from where she stood. He flew to a distance, stood up, and looked up at the changes in the surroundings. In the desert, a gust of wind blew around. Countless fine sand was blown up and directly swept into the desert. A few people ran out in front of them, pulling the horses behind them. They saw Ji-yu walking alone in the desert, wearing a black robe. So they called out to him, "Young man, why don't you come and form a caravan with us? It's very dangerous for you to walk alone in this desert." Ji-yu turned around and smiled faintly at the uncle. That's fine too. In fact, he didn't know where his destination was. He looked at the uncle who was pulling the carriage beside him and asked, "Uncle, where are you going?" The uncle said, "We were hired by the young master behind us. It's said that his wife is a sea race's shen beast. There's an oasis in the desert, and there's a pearl called the spirit stabilizing pearl in there. The pearl can allow shen beasts to maintain their human form. The power of love is too great." The uncle couldn't help but sigh. Ji-yu felt a trace of interest in this infatuated young master. He deliberately slowed down and walked to the side of the carriage. He saw that the carriage was completely airtight. In order to add a wooden barrel to the carriage, he didn't add one for himself. In the wooden barrel, there was a woman. Although her appearance wasn't outstanding, she could be considered beautiful. Ji-yu cupped his hands. "Brother, you're not a shen cultivator?" He didn't expect that the person in front of him dared to come to this desert even though he wasn't a shen cultivator. The young master looked like a weak scholar. He wiped the sweat on his forehead. He said faintly, "That's right. I'm Ji-yu Feng. Greetings, young master." Ji-yu smiled faintly and introduced himself. The other party cupped his hands towards Ji-yu very politely. As they walked, the wind in front of them gradually grew stronger. 3 streams of black chi landed on the ground and 3 men in black appeared. They looked at each other and smiled. They looked at the caravan that was moving. The leader of the black-clothed men said with a smile, "Brother, hand over all of your food." The guards of the caravan knew that they were being robbed. They took a step forward. Each of them emitted the profound strength of the 3rd level of the spirit profound realm. However, their profound strength was still far inferior to the people in front of them. Ji-yu had just met this group of people by chance. She didn't have any interest in helping them. All of a sudden, the person in front of him made a move and charged at Ji-yu. The leader of the guards snorted coldly and raised his hand. Along with a burst of shen qi, the sky suddenly darkened and a powerful shen qi gradually flew forward. It was accompanied by a loud boom. The surrounding ground cracked. One of the black-clothed men snorted, "You're courting death." After he finished speaking, his figure flashed and appeared in front of the guards of the caravan. Chapter 643. The eyes of the guards of the caravan were filled with fear. His body trembled as he slowly took a few steps back. But before he could take another step, in an instant, one of the guards raised his hand and grabbed the face of the person in front of him. The mysterious light in front of them suddenly flashed. In an instant, they disappeared on the spot. In the next moment, they appeared in front of Ji-yu. "Kid, it's your turn now." Ji-yu did not say a word. She just raised the war-hound's sword in her hand and swung it forward heavily. Until his death, the black-robed man did not understand how such a young child could have such powerful dark force. He could even kill his companion with a single slash. Thinking of this, their eyes filled with fear and they immediately took a step back. The remaining 2 black-robed men had already kept the spoils of war in their hands. Just as they were about to retreat, their eyes suddenly turned sharp. He slowly said, "Kid, don't be so rampant." Ji-yu looked in his direction and said indifferently, "Your people are here." He pointed at the dead black-robed man on the ground. The remaining 2 black-robed men were slightly stunned. They did not expect this kid to have such powerful strength at such a young age. They looked at each other and took out the treasured weapons in their hands. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared on the spot and appeared in front of Ji-yu in the next moment. He swung his sword heavily and the treasured weapons instantly appeared in front of Ji-yu. Ji-yu did not move and the aura around her body was suddenly released. He managed to block the 2 sword chis. However, by the time Ji-yu made her move, they did not even have the chance to use their treasured weapons before they were destroyed. At this moment, the aura gradually turned into starlight fragments and slowly scattered in all directions. In the next moment, Ji-yu disappeared on the spot. After a while, they appeared in front of Ji-yu. They raised the weapons in their hands and directly pierced towards Ji-yu, but it was too late. The treasured weapon in Ji-yu's hand moved toward their necks. Even if they were profound practitioners that had been transformed by the profound chi of heaven and earth, in front of Ji-yu's warhound's greatsword, they were no different from ordinary fruits and vegetables, only seeing their bodies go soft. He instantly fell into a pool of blood. Ji-yu abruptly pulled back the artifact in his hand and retreated. He looked at the 2 people in the carriage. Now that the horse was dead, it would be difficult for the 2 of them to move forward. He cupped his hands and said faintly, "Come down." After saying this, Ji-yu Feng walked down and pulled the wooden cart behind him. Ji-yu said calmly, "Let me help you." Unexpectedly, Ji-yu Feng was very determined this time. "Many thanks to young Master Ji-yu, but I still want to do it myself." Seeing that he was so determined, Ji-yu did not say anything and just walked out first. Ji-yu Feng was still pulling the carriage slowly under the scorching sun. Even with Ji-yu's current physique, he was beginning to sweat. Not to mention Ji-yu Feng, a mortal beside him. There were already 2 deep bloodstains on his shoulders. Before Ji-yu set off, he did not expect that the scorching sun in the desert would be so hot. Naturally, he did not bring any water in his storage ring and watched as the water in the bucket evaporated more and more. Ji-yu Feng suddenly fell to the ground. The girl in the bucket walked out and hugged Ji-yu Feng's body. She lowered her head and gently kissed him on the mouth. A mysterious light shone. The girl used her own water to transport it into Ji-yu Feng's mouth. Only then did Ji-yu Feng slowly wake up. Ji-yu sighed in his heart. Could this be the legendary helping each other in need? At this moment, the hurricane that had been blowing continuously suddenly stopped and a golden light flashed in front of them. Everyone looked in the direction of Ji-yu. Ji-yu slowly took a step forward and said calmly, "Be careful, big guy." After saying this, an oasis appeared in the sky. Ji-yu thought in his heart. There was a mirage here, so the oasis in the desert was not far away. He injected the mysterious energy in his hand into the carriage and the carriage suddenly flew up by itself. Ji-yu said calmly, "Young Master Ji-yu, don't be so polite." Ji-yu Feng just said thank you and did not say anything against Ji-yu's help. The 2 of them and the mysterious beast arrived at the oasis in the desert. Of course, this was because of Ji-yu's 3,000 clouds movement. When he was about to drink water, the huge lake in front of him suddenly shook violently. A walrus stood up from the water. "Oh no, it's a 9th-level mysterious beast." "What? A 9th-level mysterious beast? Are we going to die here?" "It's just a 9th-level mysterious beast." Hearing Ji-yu's words, Ji-yu Feng and the girl looked at Ji-yu in surprise. Looking at Ji-yu's confident look, it didn't seem like he was lying. Could it be that Ji-yu really had such a powerful ability? Thinking of this, Ji-yu Feng was about to speak when Ji-yu suddenly flashed and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already behind them. Ji-yu said calmly, "Be careful." After saying this, a bolt of lightning suddenly sounded in the sky. His figure disappeared in an instant and appeared in front of the walrus in the next moment. The huge walrus just waved its nose. Countless water dragons instantly flew out from the water and rushed towards Ji-yu. Ji-yu raised the treasure in his hand and waved it. He waved it heavily, profound skill, might of the water dragon. Ding, host used water dragon's might. Obtained experience points 1 by 999. Hundreds of water dragons descended from the sky. Although this was a desert, the moisture in the air was not small. After Ji Yu stepped into the spirit profound realm, he could easily use the nature attribute in the air. Therefore, it was not difficult for him to summon the water dragon. The water dragon directly rushed towards the direction of the 9th rank walrus. After blasting away the water dragons, they directly collided with each other. Following a loud rumbling sound, the ground shook violently. Ji Yu said calmly, "Kill." The warhound's great sword in his hand seemed to have sensed Ji Yu's anger and started to tremble. Chapter 644. The defense ability of a 9th grade walrus was the best in the world. It just roared and didn't use its protective aura. It just blocked Ji Yu's attack with its skin and flesh. Ji Yu suddenly rushed down. A huge hole appeared in the sky. He flew down with the long blade in his hand, only to see the long sword chopping down heavily. The 9th grade Xian beast let out a wail and fell to the ground in an instant. He can actually kill a 9th grade Xian beast. Ji Yu Feng and the girl showed a trace of admiration in their eyes. They cupped their hands and said, "Thank you for saving our lives, young master." Ji Yu smiled as if he didn't care about all this. He just took a step forward and chopped the walrus' stomach heavily with his sword. A spiritual bead appeared in his hand. Was this the legendary solid origin bead? However, this thing had no effect on Ji Yu. He raised the solid origin bead in his hand and handed it to the two girls. "This is a small gift from me to you too." The young girl took the spiritual bead and swallowed it directly. A mysterious light shone from her body. After it disappeared, a figure appeared in front of her. He said lightly, "How is it?" However, when Ji Yu covered the two girls with his spiritual energy this time, he was surprised to find that there was no fluctuation of Xian Qi in the two girls. This meant that there was no Xian Qi in the two girls at the moment. This was incredible. Ji Yu said faintly, "Miss, you're an adult now." The girl stood up excitedly and cupped her hands. "Thank you, young master." However, Ji Yu thought more than them. He said lightly, "Without Xian Qi, how can you go back?" After hearing this, the two of them looked at each other and held each other's hands. Perhaps this was how they would go back. Ji Yu smiled faintly. "How about this?" A mysterious light flashed in the storage ring and a humanoid figure suddenly appeared. This was a 7th rank humanoid figure. Ji Yu injected a wisp of her mind power into its body. "Let it escort you on your way." This was a great favor to the two girls. They knelt on the ground. "Thank you for your help, young master." Ji Yu smiled faintly. The two girls packed up their things and began to walk in the direction of their home. Ji Yu said lightly, "I hope you can be happy. This oasis was a good place." Ji Yu stretched out his hand and countless water bags appeared in the storage ring. Under the control of Xian Qi, the water entered the water bags. Ji Yu had given them more than 60 water bags just now. It should be enough to help them get out of this desert. And Ji Yu had to go again. Because the environment here was bad, he couldn't see any living things at all. As he walked, the sand in front of him suddenly began to collapse. It was as if there was a huge whirlpool sucking in the surrounding sand. Could this be the legendary Eye of the Desert? According to his investigation in Heavenly Border City, the Eye of the Desert only appeared in the center of the desert. All of them entered the Eye of the Desert one after another. Ji Yu took to the air and disappeared from the spot. He slowly took a step forward, and after a moment, he disappeared. Not long after, Ji Yu directly jumped into the Eye of the Desert. Ordinary cultivators wouldn't dare to jump like this because it could end their lives at any moment. To a profound practitioner, life was the only and most important thing. A profound light flashed before Ji Yu's eyes and she entered a bright passageway. After the passage disappeared, he appeared next to a small dried-up well. As the saying goes, good and evil can be decided with a single thought. This dried-up well was actually connected to the Immortal Gate and the Devil Gate. Ji took out the token in his hand and placed it on top of the dried-up well. In an instant, a beam of light shot out and poured into the dried-up well, followed by a burst of brilliance. Ji disappeared from this place. When he reappeared, he was already at the foot of the Golden City Mountain. The ancient profound gate was very vigilant towards the mountain gate and laid down a powerful array here. Even if you were a member of the devil race, it would be wishful thinking if you wanted to invade here. However, Ji had a token in his hand that could allow him to enter. After he took out the token, the door of light in front of him suddenly flourished. Ji entered the door. After passing through the great mountain guarding array, he saw a flat land in front of him. The most surprising thing was that there were small villages here. The disciples wearing the Golden City sect's clothes were actually plucking flowers and farming here. They were keeping livestock in captivity. Perhaps because they saw Ji, a few youths walked in front of Ji and said indifferently, "What's going on here?" They looked at each other. He said indifferently, "I feel that things aren't that simple." The few of them looked at each other. One of the youths walked in front of Ji and asked, "Big brother, who are you? How can you enter our mountain gate?" Ji patted his little head. "This one is Ji, an old friend of your great elder." The few disciples looked at each other. The great elder had been out for a long time and hadn't returned yet. His friend came with his token. "Wait a moment, we have to report this matter to our master." The few of them found their master, an old man. The old man walked out and said indifferently to Ji, "Hello, little friend." Ji said indifferently, "Hello, mister. I heard that you are friends with our great elder. Do you know where he is now?" Ji said indifferently, "I don't know, but I have something to do with the Shengxian sect, so he asked me to find you and find that place. So that's how it is." The old man laughed and said, "So it's the great elder's arrangement. Mister, please follow me." Ji followed them and walked into the light. A piece of cloud gently floated up. The old man laughed and said, "Mister, don't be afraid. We have arranged a formation here, so people with a certain strength can also control the power of the cloud. So that's how it is." Ji thought that they had stepped into the life and death realm so early. Ji asked faintly, "Elder, may I know what those are?" Chapter 645. The old man laughed and stroked his beard. Pointing to the people in the mountain village, he slowly said, "Those are our outer sect disciples. But because the sect has few resources, in addition to cultivation, outer sect disciples also need to learn how to make a living to help the sect progress. So that's how it is." Ji understood and said lightly, "Thank you for your advice." In the next moment, he disappeared from his original place. When he reappeared, he was already hundreds of miles away. He said lightly, "So that's how it is." They walked to the outside of the main hall. The old man said, "I'm an outer sect elder of the Jin City sect. I don't have any right to enter. Please forgive me, young master." Ji cupped her hands and said, "Elder is too polite." Several disciples walked up. After asking about it, Ji was brought into the main hall. Inside the main hall, a few elders were quarreling about something. Everyone's faces were red from arguing. One of the elders said, "This magnificent holy school closed its mountain gate 3 months ago and even issued a challenge to us, requesting the disciples of our two sects to have an exchange. Now, the great elder and the 5 most outstanding disciples of our sect have disappeared. Tell me, how can we agree to it? Do you mean that the sect this old man belongs to can kill our grand elder? There are so many disgusting things in this sect. Who knows what will happen?" They looked at each other. When they saw Ji coming in, the people who were about to fight immediately put on a sage-like appearance. One of them smiled and said, "You're a friend of the Grand Elder, right?" Ji cupped her hands and said, "Yes, I am." They looked at each other, and one of them walked to Ji and asked, "When did you see Elder Jin?" "I saw him about 3 months ago." The old man patted the table and said, "See, I'm right. Junior brother, you are too impulsive. Moreover, although this young master has seen the Great Elder, the Great Elder's protective jade tablet is still intact. This means that he is still alive. That's right. The crowd continued to quarrel. Ji knew that they didn't care about the life and death of the Grand Elder. Otherwise, they would have already sent people to look for him. According to Ji's view, they were worried about how to face the challenge from the Sheng sect 1 month later. Furthermore, neither side could send out disciples who had cultivated for less than 20 years. Ji calmly said, "No matter what, I am acquainted with the Great Elder. If there's anything I can help with, you can tell me." Hearing Ji's words, everyone looked at each other. One of them stepped forward and asked Ji, "Little friend, is what you said true?" Ji smiled and a burst of profound energy appeared in her hand. She deliberately suppressed her profound energy, which was only around the 8th level of the spirit profound realm. The elders looked at each other. This strength was enough to represent them in battle. However, they didn't know which sect Ji was from. If it was those trashy profound cultivators, then forget it. One of them slowly said, "Who is your master?" "This one is just a wanderer in the Jianghu. I learned it all by myself." "What?" They instantly stood up. Learned it all by himself? In the entire continent, there weren't many geniuses who could say such words. They looked at each other and instantly felt a sense of appreciation. If they knew that their great elder was crippled by Ji, they would definitely be shocked. Several of their most outstanding disciples had died under Ji's sword. No one knew how they would react. One of the elders nodded in satisfaction. He took a step forward and said to Ji, "Thank you, young master." Ji thought, "This is just child's play. Young friend, you have such achievements at such a young age. Wouldn't it be better if you could join our sect?" Ji calmly said, "This one has long liked the life of a lone wolf. I have no interest in joining any sect." "That's a pity. But I still have to thank you for your help." They looked at each other and clapped their hands heavily. One person walked forward and said to Ji calmly, "Ji Gongzi, I will take you to another place first. Because this time, we are using a team competition system, I would like to take you to familiarize yourself with our inner sect disciples." The Golden City sect had yet to produce a true disciple. Now, they could only bring out their inner sect disciples in front of everyone because all of their true disciples had died at the hands of Ji. A few people looked at each other and walked in front of Ji, bringing her out. They came to the side hall. About a dozen disciples came out and whispered to each other about who this person was. The outer sect elder was asked to tell the inner sect disciples that Ji would be representing the Golden City sect. He stood on the square and said to the people in front of the hall, "Quiet, everyone be quiet. I want to introduce everyone. This time, Ji and Ji Gongzi will be representing us in the 5 Profound Alliance." "What? How can it be him? Who is he? We have never seen him before." A teenager came out and said, "This one is Zhu Dan, greetings to young master Ji. This is going to be a good show." Zhu Dan is also our inner sect's 5th disciple. Ji cupped her hands and said, "This one is Ji." Zhu Dan coldly snorted and said, "Our eldest senior brother went out and did not return." Presumably, the masters were confused for a while, so they invited someone like Ji Gongzi. Yes, this is an expert who has cultivated for less than 20 years and has already stepped into the spirit profound realm. And we did not feel the existence of profound chi on you. Get lost quickly. Yes, get lost. Get lost. Everyone shouted loudly. There were even 2 people who wanted to pick up rotten eggs and throw them over. Ji said indifferently, "Then you are not convinced." Zhu Dan said indifferently, "I, Zhu Dan, am the first to not be convinced. The show is about to start. The outer sect's 5th disciple will fight against an unknown brat." What Zhu Dan was most proud of was his speed. He waved at Ji and said, "Ji Gongzi, don't say that I am not polite. How about I let you have 3 moves first? You let me have 3 moves." Chapter 646. Zhudan seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. His figure flashed, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of Ji. Mysterious sword, 3 consecutive sword thrusts. After roaring these words, the precious weapon in his hand instantly turned into 3 sword cheese. The first sword cheese and the second sword cheese overlapped. After the 3 sword cheese overlapped, there was a loud rumble, and suddenly a white light lit up in front of them. The white light completely lit up the night sky. However, Ji-yu did not move at all. She suddenly released the Qi Gang from her body. Accompanied by a loud rumble, the long sword hit the Qi Gang. It was accompanied by a loud rumble. Suddenly, the sound of the explosion gradually subsided. The first move. After her voice fell, the resentment in Zhu Dan's heart grew even stronger. How could this brat's skill be so strong? Could it be that he was a defensive expert? He thought to himself. In an instant, he disappeared. In the blink of an eye, Zhu Dan was in front of Ji-yu. With the precious weapon in his hand, he rushed toward Ji-yu. Ji-yu disappeared from the spot in the blink of an eye. The second move. Zhu Dan's face became more and more twisted. He gritted his teeth and said, "Kid, how dare you look down on me like this? I will make you suffer a fate worse than death." After shouting these words angrily, his figure flashed, and he was in front of Ji-yu. Ji-yu took a step back, and the precious weapon in her hand fell in the blink of an eye. He let out a miserable shriek as the surrounding stone worms were sent flying backward. After the insects screamed, they turned around and let out a mournful wail. A group of flames wrapped around the stone insects. Ji-yu said indifferently, "The 3 moves are over. It's my turn now." After saying this, Ji-yu flew forward in the blink of an eye. She held the precious weapon in her hand and slashed forward. The opponent raised his hand and blocked Ji-yu's precious weapon. At this moment, the 2 treasures collided with each other. Ji-yu's warhound's greatsword. Even Ji-yu did not know what grade the precious weapon was. Anyway, it would increase according to Ji-yu's strength. This was completely against the rules of cultivation. Ji-yu's figure flashed and came in front of him. She directly grabbed his neck and lifted him up. When that person was lifted up by the neck by Ji-yu, they saw that the person was lifted up by the neck. He said faintly, "Have you admitted defeat?" After Ji-yu said this, the people around him looked at each other, not knowing what to say. The people below the stage looked at each other, and they all took a step forward. They cupped their hands and said, "Greetings, senior brother." Ji-yu let go, and Zhu Dan, who was hanging in Ji-yu's hand, fell to the ground. Zhu Dan slowly stood up. They said, "What should we do?" After hearing his words, he suddenly felt a chill in his heart. Ji-yu said indifferently, "When the time comes, just follow behind me." After hearing Ji-yu's words, the people around him looked at each other, then slowly walked forward and knelt on the ground. As a profound practitioner, strength was always the most important thing. After saying this, half of them disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, when he reappeared, he said indifferently, "There's only 1 month left. What should we do now?" After hearing this, Ji-yu said indifferently, "Just train hard." He took out the storage ring that he had taken from Elder Dried Bone. There was a small scroll in the storage ring, and there were hundreds of 8th-level Spirit Profound Realm Shen beasts sealed in the scroll. Ji-yu threw several elixir bottles into their hands. After receiving the bottle of pills, they swallowed all the pills. After swallowing all the pills, they slowly opened their mouths and said, "We feel like something is constantly shaking in our dantian." Ji-yu guided their Shen energy out of their dantian and into various parts of their bodies. After experiencing the fluctuations of Shen energy in their bodies. At this moment, the medicinal effects of the elixir quickly transformed their Shen energy. In the blink of an eye, he stood up and said slowly, "I feel like I've directly advanced by a level." The remaining few people looked at each other at this moment. After feeling the fluctuations of Shen energy in their bodies, they disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, they appeared in front of Ji-yu. There was joy on their faces. Ji-yu said indifferently, "Once you enter the scroll, your Shen energy will be stabilized." After Ji-yu said this, the surrounding few people disappeared in an instant. They had entered the scroll. However, they never expected that in the blink of an eye, everyone united in an instant and charged in the direction of the Shen beasts. Ji-yu sensed that their Shen energy was stabilizing. She said indifferently, "Kill, Kill, kill. After Ji said these words, the surrounding people charged forward. They pulled out their swords and heavily slashed at Ji's direction. Ji's figure flashed and disappeared in the same place. The Xian beasts in the scroll actually broke free from the scroll and came to the Gold City sect. They saw the Xian beasts roaring at Ji, but the Gold City sect disciples were still in the scroll. Ji must first protect the scroll, then he could protect the disciples who were still fighting with the Xian beasts. She slowly said, "Since you all ran out of the scroll, then I'll let you all practice for me." After saying that, Zhong Wuji nodded. Ji's warhound's great sword swung out. In an instant, a fierce wind blew. Ding! The host used Wind-Ardent Blade. Obtained 1 by 999 experience points. The strong wind continued to blow, directly flying up. It looked like it was going to hit that person's body. Those Xian beasts ferociously jumped in front of Ji. When Ji's sword fell down, the treasure instantly lit up. Countless light swords floated in the air. They flew out in an instant. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.